Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm here. Councilmember Kaplan?
Here.
Councilmember Laredo? He's muted.
He's here.
Councilmember Laredo, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember London?
Here.
Councilmember McCormick? No. Vice Mayor Moss?
Here.
Councilmember Segurola? Okay. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation from Pastor Dennis Eastling.
Well, God, I've been asked to give an invocation to talk to you on behalf of our village, the leaders of our village. And I love that your word says that we can come to you and ask you anything, and you hear us. And so we pray, Father, that as you hear us, that we may follow in your will and your guidance. Lord, I pray for the guidance of this community through all of our leaders. I pray for these men and women who have given of themselves to lead this village in a direction that would be prosperous for its citizens, for the community itself. I pray, Lord, that you would give them the direction, the wisdom, the discernment, the love for this place that you have, and that decisions would be made that would bring honor and glory to you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Be seated. All right, now we're on to brief comments by council. First, I want to thank you. In light of Hurricane Ian, we've had a number of our first responders go over and volunteer their time over on the west coast of Florida, and I want to thank them. I'll be bringing an item later on to talk about what they've been doing over there, but I just wanted to give them a shout out because, you know, dedicating yourself, we are obviously a community that is well aware of the potential ramifications of a major hurricane, and so them giving of themselves to go over there and help out others who've gone through this is amazing. So thank you very much. I also want to bring up, there was a law enforcement officers Remembrance I attended with the chief on Friday night. It was incredibly moving to listen. They basically, it's a program where they bring the families of fallen law enforcement officers down here just to give them a little respite in their time, you know, after having lost a loved one. And it was, we heard two really powerful stories from two different families, people who were impacted incredibly by the loss of a loved one. And it was really poignant to be there, and just you realize there's a human cost to what these people do when they put on that shield and they go out to protect and serve. You know, there are ramifications for them and for their families when they don't get to come home. So I think I would like to see our community get more involved in that going forward. So I think that'll probably be coming back next year when I will not be here. Brief comments from anybody else? Councilmember Kaplan.
Your insight about not being here causes me to reflect on the time to thank you for your multiple tenures on council, your service as mayor. It's a hard job. It's difficult to do it perfectly. You've put your own fingerprints on this job, and I commend you for doing so. It's been a good run. I think this last 2 years has been productive. So we got a ways to go. We'll be moving forward in your wake. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Vice Mayor?
Well, I just want to echo a little bit of both of what you said. I want to just say I have the highest regard and gratitude to our first responders for going over to the west coast of Florida and helping out, and I want to also thank them as well. And Mayor, for you tonight, my gift is that I'm not going to try to steal a single motion from you tonight. That's my gift, all right? So,
fair enough.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Anybody else?
Well,
I'm trying to say something good about you.
Yeah, well, we don't have enough
We
time
usually
tonight.
argue, that's true. We usually argue, you're usually wrong. But I still love you, okay? And you do your best, and you devoted your life to this village, and the village really appreciates it. Even though we disagree many, many times, you have your heart in the right place, and I don't think anybody, whether they disagree with you, agree with you, have to realize that you've done your best. You devoted countless hours to this village to make it a better place. And because of you, it is a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it. No, I can't call you that name I love to call you.
You can go, I was going to, but I figured embarrass you in public.
All right.
Mike, just Councilmember Laredo and Councilmember Segarola will be retiring.
That's right.
Thank them too.
All right. Anybody else?
Well, since they're retiring, and I might be retiring also, in fact, I am retiring, but possibly getting another job. Thank you so much, Luis, Ignacio, for your service for these past 2 years. And smile, Luis, you're not looking very happy. I guess he doesn't hear me. That's better. Thanks so much for all you've done for the village. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have public comments. I've got 2 people signed up. Evan, if you would read the impossible to understand directions that we have to get on the Zoom call, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are watching on Channel 77 or Channel 99 on AT&T Uverse or streaming live on our website, if you would like to speak, please call 305-365-7569 and enter the Zoom meeting ID 231-627-8415, followed by pound. Then press 9, which will place you in the public comments queue. When it's your turn, you will be called upon by the last 4 digits of your telephone number. Press star 9 to raise your hand, and when it is your turn to speak, star 6 to unmute yourself. If you have joined the Zoom app, please click the raise hand button, and you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak.
Perfect. And if you've got a credit card, have it ready and your last 4 of your social. That'll be wonderful. So the first person, Andrew Petros.
Good evening, Mayor Davey, Vice Mayor London, and council members. My name is Andrew Petros, and I live at 375 Redwood Lane. Tonight I'll be speaking on behalf of my mother, Katie Petros, who has been deeply involved in the library project since its beginning. She wished to convey this message personally, but unfortunately was unable to attend tonight. Nice picture. We urge you to vote in favor of approving the overall design of the proposed library and the variance required for the reduced parking compared to the current code. Since we are consistently looking to decrease traffic on Crandon, requiring enough parking to meet a code that was designed for assembly spaces and not libraries would be short-sighted at best. We need to encourage people to use more energy-efficient ways to get to the new library, and limited parking will be a first good step. Keeping the existing footprint of parking for cars and expanding the area for bikes as well as golf carts is consistent with what we have asked for as a community throughout the design process. As all of you know, this project has been on the minds of many of us for years. It's incredibly exciting that we are so close to having this vision become a reality. This project represents the best of what we can achieve working cooperatively with the county, and I want to commend the county library director, Ray Baker, for the time, patience, and attention he has given to our community throughout the planning stage of this process. The fact that the county is willing and ready to fully fund a new library that will in many ways function like a second community center with the latest in energy efficient design and resiliency is something we should all be proud of. Thank you for your attention, and it'll be wonderful seeing a unanimous yes vote on this issue tonight.
Thank you, Andrew. Robert DeZuglu.
Hello, Robert DeZuglu, 785 Glenridge Road. I just wanted to thank you, Mayor, for 8 years. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. We've been through a hurricane, COVID, and all the things with the chamber, and I'm really, really appreciative of the hard work that you put in. Nobody can understand the amount of work that has to go into being the mayor and to helping these lovely people run the city. And we're really, really appreciate it. Thank you. And Ed, I hope you don't go. I like to have somebody watching my back, and I know you always do here in the council. Thank you very much for, again, for being here and doing all the things that you do for the village. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember De La Cruz?
Luis De La Cruz, 640 Allendale Road, and I didn't realize that today was your last day. So thank you so much for having been with us the last 4 years. Really difficult times through COVID and such. You were amazing at every step of the way. And it's a hard job. I know it. I wanted it, and I'm so glad that I didn't get it.
Had I known.
Trust me, I really came to a lot of realizations after that. I also wanted to thank the members of the Vision Board. I think they're all here. George, Robert,
Lucia's here.
Mario, I don't see Matt, Lucia, and Tom's not here. But
Allison's here.
I can tell you.
Oh, that's right.
I can tell you that, with my exception, this is an all-star team of volunteers. I can't imagine that you could have put together a better group than these guys. And we worked endless hours over a 2.5, 3 year period to put together the best that we could. And I think you're going to like it a lot. You're probably going to wait till like December to get the final plan. But I'm so honored to have spent the time that I did with these guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Evan, do we have anybody signed up online? Any hands raised? Anybody? Okay. Anybody else in the room? Are we good? All right, let's move on to the next item, which is agenda approvals, deferrals, additions, deletions, substitutions, and withdrawals.
Addition.
Addition?
Addition.
Okay. Councilmember Laredo?
I have a request.
Certainly.
Hi, good evening to all. I wondered, following Andrew Petrus's presentation, I agree with the importance, and I'm maybe having trouble technologically in this meeting, and I thought perhaps we can move the items 10A, B, and C, which I believe are the 3 items related to the
Right.
library,
So we're going to, yeah.
to the very front.
I agree. Right after
The very
special,
front of,
I agree with you.
yeah, if we can move it up to the very front of the agenda tonight,
Yep.
including before the presentation, perhaps with the exception of 7C, which is an award, so that we can make decisions while either before or after consent agenda. But to move, in essence, 10A, B, and C to what would be item 7.
Okay. I was thinking of putting it right after special presentations and right before consent agenda.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could do it before the presentations, since they are long and technical and take a lot of time,
Okay.
other than the 7C, which I believe is a recognition
Well,
of the individual volunteer part.
But,
So
yeah,
we can get into the areas where we have to make decisions.
well, there's only, okay,
Well,
7B is coming off, just so you're aware, because Elena's not available. So I'm taking that one off.
which one?
7B, the special presentation, so that's coming
It will
off.
be the Rickenbacker and the Vision Board.
The Vision Board, and then so,
Basically, item 9.
Mr. Mayor, we could put 7C after the library.
okay, fine, then that's fine. What we'll do is, we'll put 7C after the library, if that's what you're requesting. We'll put the presentation, the library resolutions, essentially in the middle of 7, between 7A and 7C.
Yeah, I'd rather start the meeting with the library, is what I'm trying to say in essence.
Okay.
So that we can-
All right, you know what?
A room full of people waiting
Fine,
for
let's
A.
do that. Then let's do the library resolutions will go prior, it'll be 6.5.
6.5.
6.5.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, I want to take out 7B. As I said, she's not here. Ed, you wanted to add something?
Yeah.
What?
Bear Cut Bridge.
What about Bear Cut Bridge? Just a
Like
discussion item?
Yes.
All right, let's put that on as,
We don't want to put that part as the presentation that's coming up for the Rickenbacker and put it right with it.
We can discuss it during
Whatever
that
you
time.
like. I don't
Why don't we
care.
do that? Let's have that conversation when we do the presentation on C. Is that okay?
On what number?
On 7C,
7C, okay.
because it's Rickenbacker Causeway
Just add it to
concept
it.
plan
No problem.
presentation. We'll do that.
You know, I just want to, I don't like to move in things either, but I know that we have some people here in the public that are going to be looking at the exceptions for the rugby and the field hockey. Is
Okay.
that something we could also move up? Because it seems like that's a pretty quick, I don't know if it's going to be quick, but I would assume that it might be, instead of them waiting till the end of the meeting.
Why don't we do that after special presentations?
That's fine.
Okay, we'll do B, D.
I can't even follow numbers.
B, D, and E?
11, B, D,
All right, so
E.
B, discussion, mayor and council member discussion items D and E. We'll go to 7.5. Anybody else? Additions, deletions?
Are you going to pull,
Well, I want to have a conversation about them, so I'm not going to pull them. I would like to talk about them.
What are you guys talking about?
C and, well, B and C
Under
are
mayor and
essentially
council.
donative, but because we don't have 7 members here, we're not going to be able to vote on them, but I would like to discuss them. Anybody else?
the only other question is Ed sent around a proposal on noise.
Well,
Did you
that's part
wanna-
of his noise ordinance.
He has it already on
It's just a
there.
discussion item, and I'm going to
It's on
just,
the agenda.
I see, okay.
okay? Anything else?
Move as amended.
Second. Son of a,
I
okay.
said I'm not going to take
All
any
those in
motions.
favor? I'm sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. Good. Okay. Moving right along, now we come to the library resolutions.
All right. So I'll just,
I'm prepared to move 10A.
Well, they're all going to be moved
hold on
together.
1 second. I'm going to read the 3 titles. And then we will have to swear in anybody who'd want to speak tonight.
Fine.
And
Open
then
for public comment.
we'll have any public comment, and we'll have presentations by the county and the staff if they want. So I'm playing Jocelyn's role today as she's at a conference. So I'll start off. A resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, approving a variance request to allow 26 parking spaces where 219 are required on property located at 299 Cranium Boulevard, providing for findings, providing for approval, providing for conditions, providing for recording, providing for effective date.
Move.
So moved.
Second.
Davey got it.
So, hold on, let me just read the
Go.
remainder. A resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, approving a variance request to waive in part the required 5-foot rear setback to permit 3 golf cart parking spaces on property located at 299 Cranium Boulevard, providing for findings, providing for approval, providing for conditions, providing for recording, providing for effective date.
Move.
Second.
A resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, approving a site plan for a 2-story library consisting of 19,353 square feet located at 299 Cranium Boulevard, providing for findings, providing for conditions, providing for recording, and providing for an effective date.
Moved.
Second.
All right, so at this point, are you just moving and seconding it for
We're
discussion?
we're moving for discussion,
Okay.
and then we need to open it. We need to swear everybody in and
Yes.
then open it for public comments,
So-
or do we have the testimony and then?
So anyone who would like to speak tonight on these items, which are the library items, please stand up and raise your hand. We're going to swear you in.
Right hand. Got to stand up, sorry.
Jeremy, going to swear you in. All right, anybody else? All right. Do you swear and affirm that you're going to tell the truth?
Yes.
All right. So we're now going to open it up. I think it's appropriate. You could have, Jeremy, do you want to go first? Or Ray, it's up to you. Whatever. We're pretty informal here.
Yeah.
Okay. Have Ray.
Good evening, everyone.
No.
Good evening.
Hey, how are you, Ray? Good, thank you. Good to see you all. I do have a presentation. I can do the 1-minute version of it, or I can do the 15-minute version of it.
1 minute's better.
1-minute version of it.
1 minute's better.
Did you say 50 or 15?
15, yeah. So first and foremost, I really want to thank everyone for all the work that has gone into this over the years, from members of the Village Council to our village manager, village attorney, as well as the village team of Jeremy and his colleagues. We've gone through an exhaustive process over the last couple of years working very closely with your residents as well as other interested parties throughout this community, and taking a lot of input into the design of this facility. We're extraordinarily excited to be at a point today to where we can turn this into a reality. With the variances that were requested, which we're entirely in agreement with, and as well as the other site conditions that are included in the items, we are extraordinarily open to those and aim to not only meet but exceed whatever requirements are put on us as we go through the permitting process. And with the vote today, we would then move to the construction drawings phase, as well as permitting, which will be done by the Village of Key Biscayne, and then into the selection process to hire a contractor to begin construction. We expect that process will probably take most of next year, and then we would be into 2024, hopefully, to begin construction. So I do have a longer presentation, but I think I would rather sit down for now and answer any questions that might come up, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. That's perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Jeremy, do you want to present anything?
Anything to present in less than a minute?
Councilmember Laredo had a comment, I think. He's trying to speak.
Councilmember Laredo, go ahead.
No, I can wait.
Okay.
If he keeps it to a minute.
No pressure, Jeremy.
I can keep it to a minute, which is simply to say that there are a number of conditions associated with both the variances and the site plans, and that I would just ask that those be incorporated.
They're already in the reso, correct, or no?
They're in the staff analysis.
And I think I incorporated them into the resolutions.
Yeah.
But, to the extent that I did not, then all of the conditions, we can move them into the appropriate resolutions too.
So moved. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Jeremy, before you walk away, it might be good just to explain in very brief terms the rationale for supporting the parking variance.
Right, so I think there are two variance requests. One is to reduce a setback of a parking, and even that one is very particular because the existing site, I think because it was originally part of the PUD with Key Colony, like the dumpster and the fence for some of their facilities are actually on the Key Colony property. So that's going to be corrected. And because we we requested collectively that they have some additional parking options, they've inserted some golf cart parking in that setback very close to where that overlap over the property line is now. Now, part of the reason we requested those additional golf cart parking spots is because the overall parking requirement for this building is it's fairly absurd, frankly, because the standard that we have to apply that's the closest standard is for an assembly space, which assumes a big empty room. So libraries, because their bookcases and those sorts of things are movable, mostly at least, they have to be quantified as an assembly space. So the overall parking requirement, I believe, came out to 219 spaces, whereas 26 are provided. I think that's the number. The number that sticks is they're short 193 spaces. So the rationale for that is, first, the category isn't a good fit of an assembly space because we know, in fact, that they have bookcases, they have desks, they have equipment. The second matter is that we know that the existing structure, if you applied the same parking standards, would require 140 spaces. And we know that it functions quite well based on the number of spaces that are there today. And then finally, there's the standard of, okay, so what is the alternative if they needed to build the parking? And the alternatives are not great, to say the least. They involve removing a lake, potentially going underground or above ground with a structure, both of which, because of the site constraints, you would need many levels, and all to address a problem that's probably not actually existent. So that's why I think this is a fairly unique scenario when you sort of apply the same standards that we have for the community center, which is probably the most similar type of use that we have, that it really starts to justify the parking reduction.
And mitigated by different modes of travel, including freebie.
Correct. Yeah, I think we've asked for additional bike parking. They have the golf cart parking. There's some additional golf cart parking they can add functionally, and then, of course, transit and all of its forms.
And we want to incentivize people to do that. We don't want to incentivize more driving.
Councilmember Laredo, hold on,
I don't
sorry.
think you said it, but the additional parking that could be sought at other commercial spaces during after-work hours for special events, weekends, evenings, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that we can't place as a hard condition. It's a suggestion that they seek that out, but we can't make their application dependent on a third-party private property owner. But it seems like a good idea. So,
okay. Councilmember Laredo.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, for those who may be watching and thinking that we're rushing through this, each one of us has spent an enormous amount of time throughout the last 2 years, and wanting to highlight former Councilwoman Petros, who her son made a great presentation this evening. And we've taken the time, including as it relates to this very vote today. But I wanted to highlight my fellow council members that this is also symbolic of a new and hopefully growing working relationship, professional relationship with the county, an indispensable partner to us here and Rickenbacker and just about everything else in our lives. The new mayor has been wonderful, and Ray at the library has been extraordinary professional, very flexible with our staff, and I think people in this island, and of course, needless to say, our council, County Commissioner Regalado, who has pushed for us to get this money that we're done somewhere else. So we have a lot to thank the county for, and I want to do it in public. Ray and Mayor and Regalado for this. And I think you made the motion. I'd like to call the question.
Well, I think we have, wait.
I have some more questions.
Yeah, we have still some questions to go. Councilmember McCormick?
So question about parking and EV charging. What will be there and what are we expecting?
Hi, Councilwoman McCormick.
Hi.
How are you? So by county code for a county building, we will have to have a certain percentage of EV chargers on site, and we plan to do so. In fact, at a facility we just opened back in April, the Westchester Health and Wellness Center, we installed our first EV chargers there. We have 3. I suspect the ratio, depending on how it plays out, will probably be around 2 to 3 EV capable parking spaces on this site.
So, and that's the whole kit and caboodle, not just the wiring, it's the unit to actually plug the electric vehicle into?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? Open for public comment?
Well, I still have questions, but
You have questions? Okay.
I'm a little confused with what's going on here. Are we voting on all 3 at the
Yes,
same time?
same time.
Yeah, so
Well, we're going to vote on all 3 at once, but we're opening for public comments. for all.
discussion. Okay.
Correct.
One public hearing on all 3.
Right.
And then we're going to take an individual vote on each one.
On each resolution.
Sequentially.
Okay.
Does anybody have any comments? Does anybody want to speak on this issue? Okay, I'm going to close public comments on this.
All right, so I'd like to.
On Zoom.
Oh, sorry. Evan?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you watching at home, if you would like to speak, please call 305-365-7569 and enter the Zoom meeting ID 231-627-8415, followed by pound. Then press 9, which will place you in the public comments queue. When it's your turn to speak, press star 9 to unmute, star 6 to unmute yourself. If you have joined the Zoom app, please click the raise hand button and you'll be unmuted when it's your turn to speak.
We have anybody signed up, Evan? Anybody jumping on?
No, sir.
Okay, so we had a couple of motions so far. So we had 3 motions on each resolution, and then there was a subsequent motion to include all the conditions, which I think they were included, but we can do that. So let's run through each sequentially.
Okay.
Okay, I still have something I want to add to from the architectural standpoint of the design, and I'd like to speak about that first. And I spoke to Ray about it on the phone, and I think that
You're talking about 10, I'm sorry, we're talking about 10C now, resolution to
10C,
approve?
yes,
the site
would be
plan?
the actual site plan. I think 95% of it is great. Everything is excellent. There's some kind of minor things that I think that could be a great benefit, and I just want to put it in the record so Ray has it, and we spoke about it already, and Ray said that it doesn't seem like a problem, that they can go back to their architects and talk about it and see what they can come up with. But from the design when that was first submitted a few months ago, and the front facade of it hasn't really changed much. The biggest response that I got from a lot of people is that, wow, it's a strong facade that's facing Crandon, right? That was one of the big ones. The other one that I noticed also is that it's a little bit difficult to find the entrance from the building from the street. So there was kind of two items that I think that could really help this. One of them is that there's a staircase in the center of the facade. And what they're doing is they're taking the stone and wrapping that staircase. And what I think what would be beneficial to break some of that heavy weight out of that facade and kind of soften it a little bit would be maybe to not have the stone go around the staircase, have the staircase be a different material to kind of separate away from the stone. I did a couple small sketches that I sent to Ray. I can have them distributed to all of you guys through the clerk as well. I think that would help. Whatever it is, the architects can come up with that idea, but I think that softens and breaks up that horizontality of that stone that's going across. I think the second thing would be the entrance, kind of marking an entrance from Crandon. And I think where they put this kind of north breezeway where the entrance is fine. The problem with it right now, though, is kind of hidden behind a wall from Crandon. You kind of have to wrap around and go to the other side. So what I suggested is that, maybe opening up that facade a little bit, having kind of maybe a covered porch kind of style with some steps coming down to Crandon, so that when you're looking at it from Crandon, there's an entryway that takes you up to that breezeway and you can go in. That's an option. I went together with another option that might be a little bit easier, with maybe just pulling the wall back a little bit so that you can see that there's an entrance behind it. So Ray said any of them he can be open to. It really doesn't affect so much the actual site plan today from above, but it's more of a facade. But I would like to at least have a condition that, the architects go back and take a look at that facade to see how we can soften it, mark an entrance a little bit better. And I think that would satisfy a lot of us for many years that we have the best building.
Yeah, as Vice Mayor Moss said, we spoke earlier today, and we've had different iterations of the things he's described throughout this process. And we're going to certainly take the sketches that he provided, take a look at them as we go through the construction drawing process, and we'll see what we can do.
That would be great. Thank you.
I think just so we can clarify, so the resolution provides that non-material modifications which don't increase the intensity of development are permitted, and if they're substantially in accordance. Those don't seem like they're real material to me. I would want Jeremy just to say that's okay, and then I think it's on the record.
We're going to have to modify.
They're not material.
Yeah, I would say that they're non-material and that the instructions are clear enough that we can work with them to proceed.
All right, perfect.
Excellent.
Councilmember McCormick?
I'm really stuck on one issue here today. I want to get back to the EV chargers. So just quickly, while electricity is being laid in the village, we're really trying to get people to use alternative forms of transportation. We're looking for increasing, electric vehicles, and a lot of our condominiums can't offer charging stations, so we try to find places around the village where we can put them. Is there any opportunity while construction's happening, if we were interested in having more, and this would really be like a conversation with Roland and with the manager, but it just came to mind, it would be good to throw it out tonight, if the village wanted to supplement beyond the county's formula and add, say, another charging station, is there an opportunity to lay the wiring and do that in advance?
You mean before we start construction?
Well, when you do it for yours, if it's the feeling among the village and the village staff and the manager that we should have more, is there a possibility to wire for it all at the same time?
Yes, and, actually, frankly, we would rather just get the right number the first time.
Okay.
That not only meets code, but potentially meets the needs of the village, and do that all at once.
Okay, so can I put that like officially in the record that you guys will have that conversation, figure out what the number is, Jeremy?
Yes.
That's not a
Thank
material
you.
change.
No, it's not.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anybody else, or can we vote on this?
Okay.
Call the
So-
questions.
So the motion on 10A was made by whom? I'm sorry, it's by the mayor?
They're all by the mayor.
Okay, and then who seconded the motion?
I seconded them too. No, I'm kidding.
I seconded it.
Okay,
I second it.
okay. All right, so, sorry, I'm playing. So there was a motion to approve 10A, which is the variance, or the parking, and also to include all conditions which may not be in the resolution from the staff report. We're going to do a roll call. Councilmember McCormick,
Yes.
Councilmember London,
Yes.
Councilmember Laredo,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaplan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moss.
Yes.
Mayor Davy.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Then 10A was also a motion to approve.
10B.
I'm sorry, 10B, a motion to approve by the mayor, seconded by a Kaplan Laredo split.
I think Ed had that one.
All right, Ed, okay. And 10B is to waive the 5-foot rear setback to permit the 3 golf cart parking. And again, any conditions of the staff report that are on the resolution are being included, and it was a motion to approve. I'll do a roll call.
Perfect.
Councilmember McCormick,
Yes.
Councilmember London,
Yes.
Councilmember Laredo,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moss.
Yes.
Mayor Davy.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Last item, 10C, which is a resolution approving the site plan. And again, the conditions from the staff report have been included that motion was made by the mayor. Who seconded it?
Kaplan.
Kaplan. Okay.
This is what we fight over.
Councilmember McCormick,
Yes.
Councilmember London,
Yes.
Councilmember Laredo,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moss.
Yes.
Mayor Davy.
Yes.
Passed 6-0, applications approved.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very excited. Thank you, Ed. Thank you all. Thanks for coming.
Hey, Jocelyn.
Jocelyn's not here.
Yeah, thank you.
Jocelyn, where did you grow that beard?
All right. Next, we're going to go back. We're going to do special presentations. Special presentation 7A, Vision Board presentation given by Vision Board Chair Mario Garcia-Serra.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Mario Garcia-Serra with my residence at 600 Grape Tree Drive. I served as the most recent chairperson of the Strategic Vision Board. I'm joined today by some of my fellow board members who presented themselves earlier, Luis de la Cruz, Jorge Mendia, Robert Duzuglu, and Lucia Marin. Matt Bramson and Tom McCormick weren't able to be here this evening. The Strategic Vision Board sunsetted this past September 30th after having been in existence for about 3 years. The final product of our efforts is this draft vision plan. Mercifully, I will not be reading it page by page this evening. It's an updated vision plan which replaces the village's existing 2020 vision plan, which was adopted in 2006. And remarkably, that vision plan had many goals which were attained during that time frame, and we have the same hopes for this vision plan. Village staff and 2 of our board members have been designated to put the finishing touches on the plan and to ultimately present it to the Village Council for your consideration, review, and adoption. Considering how long this effort has taken, I want to provide you with a summary of why the board was created, what we did, and what are the major takeaways of this draft plan. First of all, what was the Strategic Vision Board? It was an advisory board whose job was to solicit community input and, based on that input, prepare this plan and its recommendations with the assistance of a planning consultant. We were a board tasked with establishing what is the consensus of the community with regards to the challenges we are facing and how to solve these challenges. As we often said, this is a plan by the community and for the community. Now, what did we do? We spent a lot of time soliciting community input. We established an online platform, Speak Up Key Biscayne, which allowed the community to participate online, something very relevant during the time of COVID and pandemic lockdowns. There were over 7,000 visits to that website, and 700 residents submitted responses to surveys, a record for this community's response to a survey. We also had a series of public meetings, which culminated with a week-long series of charrette workshops, which were both day and evening sessions on different topics, where the public interacted with the board and our consultants. There were dozens of meetings, and the participants numbered into the hundreds. Now the actual plan. Based on that plan and based on that input, a plan was proposed identifying challenges and potential solutions. These challenges can be grouped into 3 different categories. One of them is resiliency. Facing the challenges of flooding, storm surge, and beach erosion is an issue of top concern in this community, which has risen greatly in prominence since the last vision plan. The second area of challenge is what we call place and design. In other words, how is this place going to look going into the future when new construction happens? How should it be designed? There continues to be a very strong commitment to keeping the small town feel of Key Biscayne and to guard against overdevelopment and increases in density and population, which would negatively impact that small town character and feel. The third area of challenge we can broadly describe as quality of life: traffic, parking, schools, and crime prevention. Now, there's nothing earth-shattering about these identified challenges. I think we could have all easily have identified them, probably after a short conversation just residing here in Key Biscayne for some time. Where the greatest work of the public, the board, and the consultant was dedicated to was coming up with solutions that had broad support. Some of these proposed solutions are conventional, others more innovative, but they all are worthy of consideration by this council and future councils in making decisions. Some examples on the topic of resiliency. We talked about new seawall standards and living shorelines as a way of protecting against storm surge. Elevated roads, we talked about putting in as part of any sort of stormwater management plan, but to learn from other communities that have done the same and designed swales that can absorb the runoff from those elevated roads. We talked about the future, including elevated buildings, which is undeniable, but using the understory of those elevated buildings in ways that provide opportunity for additional parking, which is a need here, as well as multi-purpose reuse. On the topic of place and design and how new buildings are going to look, where there's an acknowledgement that inevitably some commercial buildings will be developed, but those buildings should be redeveloped in a manner where parking is hidden, the usable spaces are elevated to protect from flooding, and with new commercial buildings and projects connected to each other as much as possible, so as to enhance mobility. Public areas need to be part of new development, something which is somewhat novel here for this community, but seen in many others at this point. And new demands such as housing that caters to older residents and projects which account for the new micro-mobility of golf carts and scooters also need to be addressed. It is very important to note and to emphasize that these goals can be achieved by keeping density and permitted floor area where they are today. There is no need to build bigger or build denser than what is permitted today, and that is certainly the consensus of this community and consistent with what the village's history has been since incorporation. On the topic of quality of life and challenges we're facing there and potential solutions, some innovative ideas and recommendations included crime prevention through environmental design, designing buildings so you keep eyes and bodies and a presence on the street so as to minimize crime, which we all recognize is very low here in this community, but we've also had that sense of security shattered recently by events that have happened that have been very prominent. With regards to parks, the idea of a park conservancy whose mission would be to expand and improve upon our village parks. And with regards to school, and improved use of the land at the community school and more youth engagement programs during non-school days. These are just some of the ideas included in this plan. We hope that it serves as a useful resource in resolving and overcoming the challenges of the future. In order to achieve excellence, you need a vision, and we now have an updated vision plan to help guide us for the next 30 years. As a great U.S. president said in a different context, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Key Biscayne's future is bright. We just need to face these challenges head on, as we always have, in order to keep it that way. I'd like to thank this Village Council for taking the initiative on this planning effort. Many thanks to Village Manager and our Planning Director for providing excellent support throughout the process. And many thanks to the public who participated and told us what Key Biscayne wants for its future. Even though the board is no longer formally in session, where of course will always be available for whatever follow-up you might need on an individual basis or as a group to help make some of this vision a reality and overcome some of these challenges.
Well, first, let me thank you all. I mean, I know how much work you guys put in. I know how much time you spent on this. I know how intense it was. You mentioned it's been 3 years. I think Chad and I were talking. It's been 4 years for me up here, and I think we started on this pretty quickly after that council was seated. How many meetings, do you recall about how many meetings you guys had overall?
I'd say it's in the range of probably 24 meetings.
24 meetings. They were all public meetings, so the public could attend.
All public meetings. We in particular had a week-long charrette session during February of 2022, where there was meetings both at day and at night for pretty much a whole week.
And you said something about 7,000 hits on the website?
Correct. 700 visits to the website and 700 surveys completed by residents, individual residents, because there was a way of verifying, making sure there was only one survey completed per resident that was submitted.
I mean, obviously, there's always challenges in getting people engaged in these things, but I think you did an amazing job of reaching out and trying to get people included in this. So I applaud you all for because I know individually you were doing, not only was the village trying to do this, but you guys were out there trying to, I know Lucha was yelling at people all the time, trying to get them in the meeting. So I appreciate what you all did. Obviously we've heard some of the concerns from people, and I just want to allow you the opportunity to address. There was a concern that the vision plan calls for tearing down all commercial buildings. Can you address that briefly?
No, not the case. Part of the tradition of this community also is tremendous respect for private property. And so there's a recognition that inevitably some buildings, their own owners themselves will want to redevelop, as has happened historically here. Within our memory, Key Colony Plaza used to be an old retail center that previous to that was a motel. The Ace Hardware was a gas station. The Pankey Institute was a gas station also too. So inevitably redevelopment happens just because the property owners need to redevelop their buildings. They've outlived their useful life. At that point is when we're saying these new buildings should be elevated, these new buildings should hide their parking for aesthetic purposes, and these new buildings should be connected, much like we're already doing after the fact now, when we try to make connections from Fernwood or try to make connections in between some of the shopping centers. Experience has taught us that's the right thing to do. Let's design it right the next time around when the time comes to do that. But these are recommendations. These are not mandates.
Okay. Are there any other questions from council? Councilmember Kaplan?
I think it's good to recognize that good outcomes aren't automatic. And this is really what it takes. There were a number of predecessors prior to 2020. 2020 was a rather huge effort. But these efforts are necessary and made fruitful because we're able to draw on people that have a perspective that's rooted in history, a lot of local knowledge, and a lot of passion to ensure that what you just said is ordained, to continue the good things that have led this community to be the way it is, that we all so esteem. But we have to keep doing this.
And I would add to that, at certain points in time, people call things crazy. But now in retrospect, they aren't crazy. They made perfect sense. People talked about incorporation being crazy. Having a village green would be crazy. Maybe having the community center that we have today would be crazy. Well, you look back, how come we have not done it? You look at the 2020 vision plan, we talked about having a high school dedicated to Key Biscayne students. We talked about having pocket parks in the neighborhood. We talked about mobility and having on-demand free shuttle service. All those became reality. So it's incremental, and you go step by step, and some things you realize, some you don't, some take longer than expected, but you get there.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lund?
In your opinion, just rough estimate, in the next 20 years, what do you think we can do as far as bringing your plan to reality? And how much you think, again, that's just a guess, that's going to cost?
Oh, wow. So as far as bringing it to reality, you know, this is a first step. There are so many other things, comprehensive plan, land development regulations, other
I know
sort
all
of
that.
special plans that need to be updated.
Forget about anything else. What do you think, based on what you guys did, as far as you talked about sea level, you talked about, you talked about a lot of good things. A lot of those things are easier to do than others.
Right.
So, but assuming in the next 20 years.
In the next 20 years, we're talking, that's a $100 million figure, probably.
100?
Yeah.
Oh, more than likely our storm sewer is going to cost more than 100, so $200, $300, $400 million probably. And how much did you spend on to do this?
The total effort, we paid a consultant $164,000.
$164,000. And that comes out to 1,000th of 1% approximately, I guess? How's that compare for planning, Jeremy? Do we get value for our money?
It's a good value.
Or do we overpay?
I think we did okay.
It's not just to do it. Thank you.
Thanks to you.
That helps. So many of those hours were volunteer.
That's the best.
Exactly. Well, if you factor in everybody else's time, then it's a higher amount. But
Even better value.
No, I just want to thank all of you guys too. I mean, it was a stellar group. I've been on a lot of boards. I've been a, what do we call it, liaison of many boards as well. And all of them have been great. But you guys worked. I mean, I think there was a couple of months. I think 24 is very underestimated. I remember one summer you guys were meeting like once a week. And
I don't think he was on the board yet.
oh, you might not have been on the board at that time, so maybe yeah, for you. I mean, it was
also.
crazy sometimes, and I want to thank Luis de la Cruz also because he was the chair of the board before you as well, and he worked, you know, he really worked his butt off up there on that group, and there were also other members who at one point we reduced it, and I think we should thank all of them for the time that they worked on it too. So thank you all.
Jeremy, how much do we normally spend on planning like this for different projects? Outside consultants, as a percentage.
So I could tell you from an architecture background that you would normally assume up to like 10%
For planning.
for drawings. For drawings. For planning,
Big picture.
you could back off from that. And a lot of it would be spent on legal fees, some on architectural.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be
1%?
It's going
Yeah,
to
put
be
a 0.5% there for you know doing the due diligence and putting together maybe even 1% schematics and stuff like that. So 0.5%.
Basically, we have to say that we got a bargain.
A
That's
huge
saying we
bargain.
got a good deal, people. The
huge
night is
bargain.
over. That's it. That's
Cents
all
on
we
the
needed
dollars.
tonight. Let's move on.
Just last shout out, Pike. DPZ did a great job.
Yeah.
Indeed, we had among the best planning firms in the world, and it was a privilege to work with them.
Yep.
Yeah, and the idea is that this stays as a living document. I mean, we got to. Things change all the time, so we always have to kind of.
It'll be a 2060 at some point. You know,
No, we decided no more years. We're just
We'll be the
calling
liaison
it the
on that
vision
one.
plan, and we're just keep updating it.
So
thank you, guys,
Thank you very much,
Appreciate
everyone
everything.
who worked on this.
and all the
Well
community.
done.
Indeed, it was just a team effort. It took a whole village to put this plan together.
Absolutely.
And many thanks to all of you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other members of the community should be inspired to succeed your group.
I agree.
Next, Jen.
All right, next item is, we're going to do in the middle of, we're doing before Rickenbacker, we're going to do, that's what we're going to do, the two discussion items, my apologies.
Yes.
So the first discussion item is the exception for the rugby program for 1 year. So at our last meeting, this is a discussion item, this is for direction of council, we're not, I mean, I guess we could vote on it, but so they came back and the rugby program has asked that we give them, I think it's 15 exemptions for the ages of 6, 8, and 10. Is that correct? So that they can have those programmings running. You know, we implemented this program of Key Biscayne only, 70-30, but in this case, you have a program that's not asking for additional space. They're not asking to do anything more. They just want to be able to run a program for their younger kids. I think there needs to be a deep dive by the next council which at least 3 of you, probably 4 of you will be on to discuss like how we're going to adapt this, because we did a one size fits all for all sports, and I don't know if that's necessarily correct. So I would ask that we give them an exception for this 1 year. Council takes on this subject in the next quarter and comes to a definitive and really deep dives on every sport that we have on the island so that we can do this right.
I certainly agree.
And I just feel like this is one exception. Let's allow the program to survive for the following year, and then you guys can come back and make a definitive decision at the end.
So we're not giving him any more time or more field time, is that correct?
Yeah, we just give them the 1 year.
No, we're giving them more field time than they would normally get.
No, they're not getting any more field time. They're only.
The only thing we're doing
is allowing
to take more off island kids.
That's correct. For
But
1
that's
year.
after all island kids.
Correct.
have the-
Yeah, they do not reject, rugby does not reject anybody.
Yeah.
And they only have the one field, and this is really just for their Saturday program that they're talking about.
So, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I've spoken to them. I've spoken to Glenn. I spoke to Todd, and we definitely have to dive into this overall, because obviously the reasons why is that we want to make sure field space is there, but there are minimum exceptions, and if they're not able to make those minimum to survive, then I'm open it for any sport.
Right.
But I do want to say that once they get to that minimum, then it needs to start changing back. You can't.
I understand.
Those exceptions start going away once you start building it back with Key Biscayne kids. So I'm open for that as well. And let's bring this up next council.
Okay. Councilmember Larray, did you want to say something?
No, I thought that you wanted it to be so that it's an official position to make it a motion. I'd be happy to make it.
All right, you make the motion. I'll second the motion to direct staff to allow an exception for this year for rugby going forward for this 1 year. Okay.
And to be clear, it's time sensitive to do.
Yes, these things are time sensitive because these programs are going through the registration right now.
It's a certain number that we were making the exception to, or no?
I think it's 15, correct?
15, okay.
So, perfect.
All right.
All right. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed?
No.
Okay. That one passes. The second one is for field hockey. Essentially, there are coaches, as I understand it, who need to come off island. And again, I think this is another part of deep dive. I don't believe they're asking for any more field space. I think it's simply the same. They need the coaches. I think the council is going to have to really get into our sports programs again and really determine what we need to do. But I would just say that because time sensitive, I would allow them to have it for this 1 year.
How many are we talking about?
I move it.
I think we heard something about they had 8 new coaches when they heard that the kids couldn't.
Discussion.
Yeah, we're discussing.
Marcelo Radice is here, and who owns the soccer program, and he has some objection to it. Do you want to speak to it? Well, someone walked in earlier.
No,
He's right there. Marcelo's right there.
Okay.
Hello, Marcelo Radice. I live at 70 Bay Heights Drive. I've been running the soccer program for 12 years. No, I don't have an objection today, but what I do want to say is that we have to find a level of fairness, because I did it prior to rugby and field hockey coming forward. I also approached the VAB many months ago, recognizing that there might be a need for some of our girls' teams that we need to hold together, especially when a similar situation takes place where we need to break the 70-30 rule. In our case, it was going to be 1 player here, 2 players here, because we already looked at the numbers when the registrations came in, and I think they were willing to make an exception. So I'm fine. If exceptions are made, exceptions should be consistent across all sports. That's all I ask. And I agree that there should be a deep dive done across all the sports next year. And I hope you all can go get that space over there on Virginia Key.
Amen.
But I have a question, Marcelo. So are you saying that this would have been survival for the girls' sports to survive, girls' soccer to survive? It was almost going away because of the 70-30 rule?
Well, certain teams, we needed to have at least 10
like
players.
A year, like
based
an
on their age group.
Okay.
Yeah, where we would need to break the 70-30 rule.
Okay.
By 1 player or 2 players, so that we could continue to have field a team for the other 6 or 7 players that are from the key.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
part of.
I think that's
the
important.
idea.
Yeah.
But for the time being, your program's okay? These particular teams are sustainable?
They are right now. Everything's working great. And quite frankly, we're in a different situation than some of the other sports where we have an abundance of kids that live on the island. So we never have the issue with the 70-30, with the exception of the girls, as we tried to build the girls program up.
But the girls are okay for now.
For now, they're okay, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other
Do a
questions?
deeper discussion, yeah.
Okay, I'll second.
And it's another time sensitive because of registration,
Correct.
right? Okay, and there was something about, you said 8?
I think it's eight coaches.
8 coaches.
So the exception is 8.
Right.
Okay.
Call it.
Call it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
On this issue, Mayor and Council, on the so-called deep dive that is going to be incumbent on the new council member, we need to also have some group therapy kind of sessions so that we have stability. I know that there were 2 or 3 incidents.
Well, that's part of it as well. I agree. No,
Yeah.
sportsmanship and, agreed. No,
Because this is a miracle that it's working, given the number of kids we have. It literally is a miracle, so tension will arise. But we need to kind of chill out and in that period, make that a big part of the agenda, the next mayor and the next council.
All right, next item is special presentation, Rickenbacker Causeway concept plan presentation from Jeremy. And we'll also discuss Bear Cut. Jeremy? He left. He quit.
Right there.
He's back.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
Chairman Koskogger, Village Planner. So to bring a brief update on Rickenbacker. So I was not intending to go through the entire presentation again.
Thank you.
Just to highlight some of the differences in responses to, there we go. From the beginning, there we go. There we go. Thank you. So overall, maintain the same goals, maintain the same standards, but be responsive to council's request last meeting that it was generally approval of the concept, but there was a request for some additional through traffic capacity. And so we studied that with the engineering team as we've been continuing to collaborate with the county on joint master plan and reviewing the Bear Cut portion in particular. So again, scope and focus for our project, for the village's project, has really been focused on the area of Virginia Key and Crandon Marina because that frames Bear Cut Bridge. So we were looking at all of these different issues, but the only one that we really had comments back from council on was about improving traffic. So we took a look at that, keeping generally the overall concept of separating through lanes and local lanes. And then what that section looked like previously, and what we're proposing for it is adding a lane of the northbound through traffic. So it's worth noting that what you're effectively getting in terms of emergency capacity here is 3 lanes northbound and 2 southbound, because those with the shoulder are set up so that you can get multiple cars through there. If there's an incident, you can divert around it within that space as well. So what that looks like, again, we're tying into existing bridges, we're tying into existing structures. That's part of the reason we only went with 2 northbound and kept 1 southbound. So this was the proposal before, was having the 2 local lanes merge onto that northbound lane on the Causeway. And so instead, we're having 2 through lanes and having the local lanes merge before they get onto the Causeway. So again, in 3D, you get some spaghetti, but it's all grade separated, so it actually flows through, and we're adding that lane there.
But Jeremy, what you're saying is there is no merge because the local lane is going straight onto the bridge, right?
The local lane's going straight onto the bridge. The local lane now, you can see it here, they have a merge coming out of the
Before
traffic
they get into
circle
one, okay.
before they get onto in this. So it really keeps the overall concept. We keep all the advantages going through and connecting to Mast. Now, looking at it from the south side, this was interesting because, you know, at Bear Cut, it's 2 lanes and 2 lanes. So adding a lane here, again, not too much of a problem going northbound because we were dropping off an off-ramp there anyway. But coming southbound there, you would have actually created a problem here. You'd be, instead of having, you'd have to have a merge lane. If we added 2 lanes there, the traffic coming on from the local lanes would have to merge, and it would actually slow down that process overall. So you don't get the full advantage from having 2 lanes coming southbound. And we're really bottlenecked at this location on both sides of Bear Cut Bridge because of the existing rights-of-way, because of the surrounding natural areas. So that's why we were able to make it work to northbound, but not coming to southbound. Again, just to show how that works 3D, you have all the spaghetti, and this is just what the change is, where we have that 1 additional lane in that area. And then, you know, the engineers were able to develop these plans more thoroughly than we were before. So this is all worked out, all the geometry, 3-dimensional, up, down, side to side has been resolved. We're still refining these, some pedestrian crossings, that sort of thing, but as far as the overall road geometry, this is pretty close to cooked. And so that's what we're ready to pass on to the county. And that's just a little bit of a zoom.
Councilmember Laredo?
Good question. Thank you, Mayor. Jeremy, I know the answer, but I think for people who may, at least as a season, Rickenbacker is obviously a very important area for us, and therefore a very good ground for misinformation. All of the money we're spending and energy on this project is for us to do it as a public investment. This has nothing to do with privatization. Is that correct?
So certainly nothing to do with privatization on our part.
Well, let me take that one, Jeremy. Yeah. So council members, so where we wanted to get to is enable us to coordinate, communicate, and work with the county. And we're exactly there. So we're working with them on establishing a master plan. You know, as we all know, this is the county's road. Obviously, we have a big input on this because, you know, we say it and we'll say it over and over again. This is the driveway to our home. So we want to make sure we are part of the final solution. But in the end, this is the county's road, and we're going to work together with a master plan directed by Mayor Cava to come up with the best solution for the county residents as well as the Keys residents.
Yes, but I want to emphasize in plain English that for us citizens in the community that we are not, by pushing forward this wonderful project and working with the county, and we've invested money as well as time, it is, we still, as most of our citizens, and I guess a lot of the citizens of the greater Miami area, Miami-Dade, are not in any way to be constructed as that we're endorsing the possibility of privatization.
I don't see this as an
In
endorsement.
other words, this is a public works project moving forward from a municipality, i.e. Key Biscayne, and a municipality, i.e. Miami-Dade County.
Yes. This is a joint. It's a joint partnership between the village and the county.
It has nothing to do with that private consortium that was coming up.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
About the renovation of Rickenbacker, basically privatization. Is that correct?
Yes.
All I can say is we're working with the county. I mean, there's no one else involved besides us and the county, council member.
This is all about design. It's not about
Well, listen, I understand that well. I spend my time reading it. I want to make sure that we are clear and plain English on this, because people will distort misinformation, particularly in this season. This has nothing to do with the Rickenbacker project.
Plan Z. The Plan Z you're talking about. Yeah, this has nothing to do with Plan.
Et cetera, et cetera. This is a public works project moving forward as of today, October 11th, We're cooperating with the county, but what is best for the citizens of Key Biscayne.
Correct.
Nothing to do with that previous private group.
Correct.
This is correct.
Councilmember London?
Let the record show that.
Record shows.
I think Luis just said, moving forward. We've all been around for a long time, see how fast government moves forward. It's usually very, very slow. We're going to have a new library. How many years is it before we actually have the new library? We're going to have a new bridge. We're going to design. Excuse me, the county mayor was here 8 years ago, and at that point, within 2 years, we're moving forward on the Bear Cut Bridge. So far, nothing. We're working with this design. We're pushing them. We got a nice design. Everybody likes it. Fine. Now you're going to present it to the county. Hopefully they like it. They present it to them, and that's wonderful. Now, it's not me. A wise man told me, why don't we move a little bit faster? Why don't we negotiate with the county to say, fine, we'll front the design for a new bridge. We'll lay the money out. We'll get moving. We'll get the design done so you can build us a new bridge rather than wait a couple more years till you get the design. And when you're ready to go and you're ready to build it, you reimburse us for our cost involved. And I think that's a damn good investment if they'll go for it. But I think they might not. But I definitely think we should approach them with the proposition that we will front the money. We will work with the engineers, designers, collaborate with them to get the design, get the engineering done so we can move forward, or they can move forward with a new bridge. And when they're ready to go, they can then reimburse us. And I don't know how the rest of the council feels about it, but to me, that's a good investment of our money. It's really lending the money because I expect to get it back, but it's a good investment to get things done. And that's what I'm proposing on the Bear Cut Bridge, that we move forward, that we discuss with the county to get them moving on it, to get us moving on it, and possibly we'll have a new bridge within 5 or 10 years.
I like it. This is Ed London. Are you
Anything to go
feverish?
faster.
Sorry? Are you feverish? Okay, you want to spend money? This is scaring me.
No, I want to lend them money. I'm not spending anything. Okay, I'm fronting the money.
What's
I might be losing the interest on the money for a short period of time.
I
but
like it.
I'm not
I think
spending
it's a great idea. I had a conversation with the mayor last week where I asked if they could potentially declare an emergency, given what happened in Sanibel. We'll see where we go for that. But I like this idea of us putting forward the money for design to expedite the process. And obviously expecting it to get it back when they go to construction.
I can't take credit. Somebody else told me. Okay. Wise man. So.
Well, you know what's easy? It's taking the specificity that you've been attending to for the whole breadth of this realm and just making it more specific in another linkage.
Is that possible?
If it's possible. So let me just talk about a couple things.
Good. Go ahead.
Talk about a couple things. So there's two things that we're working on right now. So obviously after, what happened on the West Coast and on Sanibel Island, both Chief Lang and I, we reached out to the county, Pete Gomez of the Office of Emergency Management, as well as Jimmy Morales, and we're going to meet with them and talk about, once again, to clarify what the response and recovery plan is for Bear Cut Bridge. Obviously, that's short term. Second term is, and I think I sent a note out to you all today, the county is going to send out the project development evaluation study or environmental study over the next 3 to 4 weeks. That is, if you recall, when Ryan Fisher was here back in April, a 2 to 3 year process, which goes through the NEPA federal process, which is unfortunately required, fortunately, unfortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, in order to get federal funding. So perhaps a part of that, if that's something the council wishes to do, is if we want to front the money for the design, that may push the design faster, but the PD&E has to happen in order for us to get federal money. So we just need to keep that in consideration.
Yeah. Well, can't they go along on
simultaneously
on different tracks?
PD&E has to be done first, and then the design would happen after that, right? But if we say once the PD&E is done, then it'll move into design a lot quicker than the county would ever move into.
But that's a couple of years.
2 to 3 years, as they present.
Let's see if we can push that.
Why can't we do them simultaneously? The only thing I can think of is after you do PB&E, they say you can't build a bridge. Otherwise, then we're stuck with the bridge we have. We won't get our money back.
Yeah.
But other than that, Why can't we do that?
I will ask the question.
Thank you.
Let's do it. I like it. Well done.
I think
So
if anybody needed a reality check, this is the moment to move in this direction when you block your effort. Because Captiva and Sanibel are about as similar to us in terms of high income and all the stuff that you all know, and the ones, the pictures of that devastation. This council needs to make a very strong policy decision to maybe do something. The best way to do it is what you suggested, and if you make it a motion, I second it, or I make your motion.
I think this is going to have to go before the next council, respectfully. I don't think, I mean, we can direct to move, get you guys start looking into it.
Bring it back in November.
We can go ahead and ask Steve to approach the city.
Yeah, and I think there's plenty of examples of times that we've already done this, right? We did it with the Army Corps when we wanted to move parallel with their study when they wouldn't let us in. We tried to do it with the smart lights. Of course, that got foiled, but it was a great idea Lucho had that we would front the money and move us up on the list. And then when our name finally came up, but well, we can leave that debacle off because of the next election. But the groundwork for this kind of a thing is there even with the county. And it sounds like this council is interested in pursuing it. So I think we're asking you to look into it and bring it back to the next council.
As soon as you can.
Certainly. And just so I want everyone to be clear, what all the things that are going on right now. Number one, we talk about the PD&E, which is intended to go forward for the replacement of Bear Cup Bridge. But also recall that Bear Cup Bridge is also going to be going through its 10-year maintenance repair program. So they will be going on simultaneously, so be prepared for that.
But they reduced it, they told us, right? They're not going to do the full or
well, they'll have to do whatever is required based on their assessment. And then thirdly, and I mentioned before, Chief Lang and I are going to meet with Pete Gomez and Jimmy Morales on what is the response and recovery efforts if we have damage to the bridge, if something bad may happen like we saw in Sanibel. So those are three things we'll address. We'll come back to you in
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you in November, and we'll give you an update.
And I think we can all agree that this is the highest priority that
100%.
we have in front of us. So, what Ed is saying, anything that we can do to speed this up, and if it's not what Ed's idea, but you found another idea, it's all about we got to get this thing done ASAP and not wait for a huge hurricane to come rolling through.
All right. I wanted to move because, Mr. Mayor, I'm a believer.
I understand.
Just make a motion.
Okay, I'll move it then. I'll move to
direct. Make a policy direction around the same words that the Vice Mayor has said, that this is our.
And I'll second it. And let's, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. Perfect.
Did it.
Well done.
So why don't we make it a motion?
You already did. You made the motion. I seconded it. We just voted on it. We're good.
Okay, great.
Let's
agree
move.
with you.
Thank you all. All right, next item. And I appreciate all the work you put in this, Jeremy. All right, next item is the consent agenda.
Move.
Second.
Move it.
I want
It's
to
already been moved
remove,
and second.
B, C, D, and E.
I have you not, this is 4 years we've been up here and you keep, agenda deletions and everything else is in the beginning.
This is the
remember?
consent agenda.
That's the consent agenda, but you.
I thought you did when you got the consent. I never removed anything.
And you removed all of them.
And you want to be our council member
There is
again?
no consent agenda.
All right, what do you want to remove?
All of them.
B, C, no, A is fine. B, C, D, and E.
You said remove them?
Yeah, he wants to remove them.
He wants to take them out of consent.
I have questions on them.
Okay.
What do they hurt individually?
All right, move it.
We're at 8A. That's it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So now we go to item 8B, a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne accepting a municipal planning match grant award in the amount of $90,000 from the Miami-Dade Transportation Planning Organization for the Cranium Boulevard Safety and Mobility Study and approving an agreement related to the same, providing for authorization, providing for an effective date.
Move.
Second.
Question. And I don't know who I addressed the question to, I guess Jeremy.
No, me.
Oh, okay, fine, thank you.
It's grants, come on.
My question is this. We're supposed to pay 20% reading this thing, correct?
Yes.
Matching grant. Is this $90,000 for the work that's already been done to add the extra lane?
No, we can't use the $90,000 until the county gives us a notice to proceed, which is after we accept the grant.
So what is this for?
This is for essentially progressing the Crandon Boulevard design that was outlined in the vision plan to a 30% design. It's the next
Design
step.
for what?
To add the cycle track to
Add the what?
the cycle track that's in the vision plan.
Put the green down, you mean?
There's green bike lanes that are coming in through a different grant, but the 30% design is for the improvements that Jeremy worked on in the vision plan that include narrowing the median a little bit, considering the traffic impacts of a cycle track on one
narrowing
side.
the median, yes, did you say?
Yeah, so you have a very large right-of-way in Crandon Boulevard. And I think we can all agree that there's a lot of different types of users on Crandon. There's kids crossing for school, there's scooters, there's
I know, I read all that stuff.
all that stuff.
I read everything. I just, after I got it all done, I didn't know what it applied to.
We're trying to
When you say
design.
30% design,
Yes,
so after that, you're really saying that if the 30% is 90,000, the total cost is what, 300,000, right?
no, we're
360,000?
still working out the details of what the full 30% is going to cost for the effort. The 90,000 is essentially, I mean, it's a grant. It's sort of their goodwill and saying, we know this is a county road. We know that this is something that the village wants, and they're going to put forward $90,000. We have a 20% match, and the full scope of work is something that'll come to you later with the total cost for the 30%.
Well, do we know what we're going to spend the first 90,000 on? Do we have bids from any consultants or providers, or we're just estimating?
No, we know what we're going to spend it on. It's for the 30% design. We don't know the final total cost of that yet. We're working with a firm within our CCNA to develop that.
We're not bidding it out.
No, we can use our CCNA for that.
Sorry?
We can use our continuing services agreements that with our A&E firms that we have on.
We already qualified.
One of our existing pool members.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
We've already qualified those individuals, and the council's already
Their
approved
teams
the
and their
pricing.
rates.
We have more than one firm that does this?
We have
Yes.
a rotation of firms that the staff goes through.
We have 4 firms. How do we select the firm?
We usually rotate them, but if one has a specific skill that we would like to use, we'll choose them.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Are you
Okay,
good with this?
I'm done.
All right.
I'll vote on it, it's fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item.
All right, so the next item is a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, approving a memorandum of agreements with the City of Miami for Urban Area Security Initiatives, UASI fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021, providing for authorization, providing for effective date.
Moved.
Second.
Okay.
This is just my stupidity, Eric. I read the whole thing, not exactly sure what you're going to do. I mean,
What do you
a lot
gotta
of
do?
forms, a lot of different things, but what's this all mean?
Go.
Good evening, Council. Councilmember London. This is simply approving the manager to enter into an agreement with the City of Miami as the host agency of this federal grant. The money will provide us roughly $68,000 between the 2 years, and then we're going to be spending the money on equipment.
On equipment?
Yeah.
What kind of equipment?
So we have 2 things that we've identified. Ballistic vests, which are a part of our response. We currently have ballistic vests.
Bulletproof vests?
Bulletproof
That's
vests.
for firemen or policemen?
For firefighters. Bulletproof vests for our response and helmets. And believe it or not, I didn't understand this, but they expire. They have plates in them, and you can talk to the police chief a little bit more about it if you like, but they essentially have an expiration date. So we have to replace those. So that is, they're about $1,500 for each set, roughly. And we'll be purchasing those ideally within our procurement procedures. And then the remainder money will go for a vehicle. And one of our vehicles is up for replacement.
What kind of vehicle?
Well, we currently have a vehicle that we need to replace. And
What
so-
kind of vehicle?
Pardon?
What type of vehicle?
But it would be ideally, no, this is not a response vehicle. This would be a support vehicle.
What's a support vehicle?
Like we
Pickup
cur-
or
we
one of the,
currently have a
SUVs?
few SUVs.
I'm sorry?
We have SUVs
Yeah.
now, and we're looking at either a van or a pickup truck. But anything that we buy has to be approved through UASI, which is this Urban Area Security Initiative,
And they're going to pay for everything?
and they'd be paying for everything.
And how long you been on the fire department now?
Almost 30 years, 29 years?
30 years.
And has any fireman ever been attacked by anybody?
100%, absolutely.
Yes?
Not
Yes.
ours, but yes.
Our firefighters have been attacked.
I mean, with guns and stuff?
We had a person come after us with a.
Sorry?
We've had a person attack our personnel with a sharp object. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's happened over the years.
How many times?
And just to be clear, bulletproof vests, I think is what you're trying to get at, right? So it's a few times, at least one time per year, we've had to dress out in that ensemble to be ready for a response. I can go into longer detail, but we recently did an active killer drill. And part of that active killer drill is we have to go into potentially not a hot zone. We let the police deal with that. When they're ready for us to come in, there's a procedure in place for firefighters to come into what we call a warm zone and under the protection of law enforcement, and to be able to aid victims of an active killer situation. And so this is a tool that we use, and it helps to protect our personnel. And it's the industry standard.
Sorry state of affairs when we have to get bulletproof vests for firemen.
I agree.
That's why I called the question.
All right, let's go. Call the question.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Next item is a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, approving and adopting a program for public information, PPI report, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Move.
Second.
Okay.
Questions?
I read the whole thing,
Okay.
every page.
You've said
And
that.
now, we're going through this whole procedure to tell people they should buy flood insurance, tell people they should not clog drains. I mean, is there anything other here anything other than common sense?
Probably not.
I would say probably not.
Right. Okay, then the next thing is, who is CRX Max Consultants?
They're the consultants that are working with us to help us lower our
Do we pay
overall
them for
score.
this?
This is one piece of the overall strategy to lower the CRS score. So they actually worked with us to set up
So we paid them
the
for
program. We paid for this, but most of these recommendations actually came from, are fairly standard for how to proceed, and also came from the citizens and staff that were involved in the group. I would say that, that common sense can be uncommon. So that, the fact that these are fairly standard, this is a evolving document. So the PPI, this is a group of folks that'll meet. Initially, we were meeting monthly. This is the first sort of tranche of recommendations, but this is a group that will continue to meet over time. So this is sort of the low-hanging fruit, the easy stuff, and then we'll work to improve it moving forward too.
So we wasted staff's time, we paid consultants. People should know, basically
Only
common
if-
sense of what you have here.
Only if a
Thank
$2
you.
million
That's all right.
insurance discount is a waste of
Call
time.
the
But you're
question.
saying this is one step.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
You see this, although it may be common sense, as a necessary step to get improving our rating.
This is worth.
Improve our rating.
So in our
come on.
CRS rating, I think it's about, I might get the numbers slightly wrong, but you need a certain number of hundreds of points to lower your score by a point. And getting this group together and
It's on the list.
It's on the list, and it's worth about 300 points. It's a tremendous benefit.
So
to get
even
that
though Ed
community
thinks it's
involvement.
nonsense, it actually moves the needle in the direction we want.
I don't think it's nonsense.
You don't admit it,
I
but
think
you do.
I
You
think
admit it.
the initial. I do agree. The initial recommendations are the simplest ones.
Okay.
But you have to do them in order to get the points.
This is the first step,
Yeah.
and they're going to be a group that's going to continue to meet and continue to get community outreach.
It's
and
easy
involvement.
points.
Do we have anybody else who wants to make comments on this, or can we
No,
call the
let's
question?
call it a question.
Let's go.
Question.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one.
KE,
And if Mr. Mayor, if I make, I think Jeremy made the quote of the night. Common sense is not always common.
that's true. A resolution of the
Councilmember
mayor and
London.
village council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, making certain findings in designing the real property located at 530 Cranium Boulevard, Key Biscayne, Florida, 33149, identified by Miami-Dade County folio number 24-42-32-001-0050 as a brownfield area pursuant to section 376.802A of the Florida statutes, for the purpose of environmental rehabilitation, job creation, and promoting economic redevelopment, authorizing the village clerk to notify the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the Miami-Dade County of said designation, authorizing the village manager to execute brownfield site rehabilitation agreement with Miami-Dade County, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Moved.
Second.
Okay. I'm going to open this for public comments. Anybody want to speak to this issue? I'm not saying it again. So if you didn't listen the first time, out of luck.
You have to open this to comments?
I'm
This is
closing
like
public
consent, no?
comments. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Go. Ed, what's your discussion?
Who am I addressing this
The
to?
brownfield.
I know it.
Okay.
I said, who am I addressing this to? To our again?
Here we go.
Basically, by doing this, do we get reimbursed for the work, the remediation we did at 5:30?
But wait, before Brett answers, so Councilmember London, the village has retained Brett's law firm to assist, Michael Goldstein's law firm to assist in processing it. They are the experts in brownfield designations. So that's who you're talking to here. This is Brett.
Thank you.
And if I would, before he starts too as well, council members. So this is something probably the village should have done 15 years ago. Chief of Staff has done some great research working with the council here to look into the laws that surround brownfield and to green reuse, which I like the word better, on ways in which we can improve this land we have here, because it was a gas station at one point. It's an opportunity to recoup the costs that we've spent in the past, and as well as put us in a position going forward in the future, if we face any future environmental concerns, we're also covered under that as well. And he'll be able to give us much more details on.
So my question is, can we recoup the money we spent to date?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yes. And then some. Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Call the question.
Call the question.
No further questions.
Go. Call it. Chad, you're calling.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item.
So next item, we're going to ordinances there.
Do this one?
Is that right? I
Yeah,
got it.
ordinance.
All right,
This is the
I got
Village
it.
of Key
An
Biscayne,
ordinance,
Florida.
you got it? All right, an ordinance of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, amending section 30-197 of Article 8, signs of Chapter 30 of the Village Code of Ordinances relating to the placement of signs and decorative architectural features, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, providing for effective.
Moved. Second.
We need to have a public hearing on this also.
Open it for public comments. Anybody here to talk about the signs? Signs everywhere, a sign. Blocking up the scenery. No? Okay, closing public comments. Let's go back. Oh, we got to do that. No, Evan? Sorry. Nuclear codes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are watching on Channel 77 or Channel 99 on AT&T Viewers or streaming live on our website, if you would like to speak, please call 305-365-7569 and enter the Zoom meeting ID 231-627-8415, followed by #. Then press 9, which will place you in the public comments queue. When it is your turn, you will be called upon by the last 4 digits of your telephone number. Press *9 to raise your hand. When it's your turn to speak, press *6 to unmute yourself. If you have joined the Zoom app, please click the raise hand button and you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak.
And if I may, Mayor, those instructions are for 9A, 9B, and 9C.
Yeah, we did it 8A.
Thank you.
We did it.
You did? Okay.
All right.
All right. Anybody signed up, Evan? Closing the public comments for 9A. We've moved and seconded. Comments?
No question.
Do we have any questions about this?
Nope.
No, I
Okay,
just wanna
Not
say I
since
like
first
the way
reading.
you handled the issue of that tall tower. Like, I love 4B and C,
Perfect.
those changes. Well done.
Well done. All right.
So the motion was made by,
I moved it.
okay,
Kaplan second.
okay, and I got to do a roll call.
Yep.
All right. Councilmember McCormick,
Yes.
Councilmember London,
Yes.
Councilmember Laredo,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaplan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moss,
Yes.
Mayor Davy.
Yes.
Okay.
Next item, an ordinance of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, amending Chapter 30 zoning and land development regulations of the Village Code of Ordinances by amending Section 30-112, Schedule of District, use, and setback regulations relating to outdoor dining regulations, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Moved.
Second.
I'm going to open for public comments. Anybody want to speak about this? Outdoor dining? Going once, going twice. We're closing the public comments. Next item. Okay, discussion?
All good.
All right.
All right. Roll call.
My next job.
Councilmember McCormick.
Yes.
Councilmember London.
Yes.
Councilmember Laredo.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moss.
Yes.
Mayor Davey.
Yes.
Okay. My
All
turn?
right, next item, an ordinance of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, amending Chapter 30 zoning and land development regulations of the Village Code of Ordinances by comprehensively amending, creating, and updating regulations relating to bicycle and golf cart requirements, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Moved.
Second.
I'm going to open for public comments. Anybody want to talk about bicycles and golf cart requirements? Okay, I'm going to close public comments.
All right.
Anybody? Roll call.
Councilmember McCormick.
Yes.
Councilmember London.
Yes.
Councilmember Laredo.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moss.
Yes.
Mayor Davey.
Yep. My last ordinance.
Oops. All right. So then that takes us to
We're in 10D.
10D. Capital Project Authorizing Resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, approving an agreement with Eddie Lopez Technologies LLC, doing business as SOP Technologies for installation and maintenance of undergrade filter units and curb inlet filters at the K through 8 elementary school basin in an amount not to exceed $86,976, providing for authorization, providing for an effective date.
Moved.
Second.
This relates to the stormwater quality pilot project that we got grant funded through the FDP. We agreed to move forward with that grant. We accepted the money from the FDP. We have an umbrella agreement with the FDP. This is a PSA agreement with one of the two vendors that were part of the grant proposal. Okay. And we're just putting it in place so that we can proceed with the
This is
execution
to
of the grant.
implement filtration so that we
Correct.
can be cleaning the water, and basically making it better than what we're
Correct.
receiving.
We're testing out.
Right, we're
different-
testing a
di-
process
different
of filtration.
Filtration possibilities.
No, I'm so happy that we're coming forward. This is one of the things when we started talking about stormwater, filtering it is critically important. So I appreciate you guys
Right,
getting
so
this.
SUP technology is just one of the two different technologies we're trying.
No, it's phenomenal. Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, in the proposal, the language here talks about one of the systems being the workhorse. I think that was the term they used, obviously. So it's been around, it's been used. I assume it's successful. If it is successful and being used, why are we doing a pilot program with it?
Because the question always comes out about how well it works in the context of Key Biscayne.
Is the
and the
water
land
different
use.
here?
Depending
Our
on what,
conditions are different.
depending on what ends up on the roads, it could work differently, it could filter differently.
But is it really typically different, our roads, in a community like ours in a similar community? I mean, I've been using it, obviously, at other places. I also been called the workhorse in this business. I just don't understand why we'd be doing a pilot program for some tested methodology.
Because at the end of the day, people always ask the question as to whether or not it's effective, and they want to have numbers associated with that effectiveness, and so we try it out to see how well it works.
All right, so,
Vice Mayor?
yeah, I mean, I think I'm with what Councilmember London is going towards. If your product works, I mean, we should just tell them to install it and show us that it works. And then if it works, we buy, I don't know how many thousands of them, right? Yeah. I don't understand why we have to be putting $200,000 in to have someone come here, put it in, find out if it worked. If it doesn't, we're out $200,000.
Right.
I don't think this is the right.
Guys, let him, you guys can't be yelling right now.
Okay, I'm not done yet. So I don't agree with going through a pilot program to see if something works. One of the things also that I'm curious and worried about is that we have, do you want this put on your street? Because we have an under-capacity system. You're putting these things to slow it down. In a heavy downpour, which can happen, this can overflow and really back it up and start flooding into a house. So who's liable if that happens? So where are we going to put it? And the people who live on the road may not want that in there because, again, does it work here with the type of downpours, the type of system that we have? If they think it's so good, I don't know why anybody would have money to have it placed in there. I mean, if it's so good, show us that it works. And if it works, then we'll buy them.
And they say that it works
So you guys,
with storms, according to this. It doesn't restrict the flow.
So,
Councilmember Moss, to answer your question, the question is, will it create a problem? The question is, will it be operationally practical? The question is it effective? The question is, will it improve the water quality? I mean, all these questions that are asked in advance of deploying a particular type of technology across an entire village are legitimate questions that you want to be able to answer. The way you answer them is by doing a pilot. It's that simple. And if operationally it is impractical, then that's something that we know that we didn't know before and that we then use to decide not to do that, not to use that approach. And then we move on to another type of approach. But at the end of the day, you've got to answer the questions.
No, the vendors have to answer the questions. If they stand by the product that it works, then they should be saying, okay, we'll put them in and we'll show you it works because we know you're going to buy it from us. Why are they asking for $200,000 to test it to see if it works?
They're not actually asking for $200,000. We submitted a grant to the state DP. The total of the grant request was $215,000, of which there is a match requirement. So the state gave us about $159,000, and then we have I think it was a 25% match on that.
But the vendor is going to get paid over $200,000, no?
Excuse me?
The vendor is going to get paid over $200,000, no?
Not this particular vendor.
No, but the two
vendors.
together.
And a lot of that goes to the purchase of the gear, and to the time that it takes to do all the sampling and all the analytes that have to be analyzed by labs. So yeah, there's a cost. There's a cost to actually doing a pilot to figure out if a technology is worth using across the entire village.
and let me be clear, this technology has been tested in other places, is that correct?
Yeah, it has been used in other places.
Okay, and it's been effective there.
According to the vendor, but we want to know that it's effective here, yeah.
Okay, so that's the point. I mean,
And we do have unique challenges in Key Biscayne regarding inundation. So we want to know that it's not actually going to be causing more of a problem than it solves.
Sure.
The only way to do that is to test it.
Without hindrance.
So the second thing is, just to put it out there too, is this the system that we should be looking at for here? Are there other systems out there too? And what I would do is I would research the 3 best products, reach out to them, said, would you install 5 of these? Let's test them out and we can see which one works the best and we will order from you guys. I mean, I don't know. That's from a business standpoint, you would want to put some samples out there, show it works so that you can get the deal and not have to.
That is one way that you could structure a proposal. It makes for a very expensive, complicated proposal that may or may not get funded. We had an opportunity to test out these 2 different technologies that are 2 different classes of filtration. And so we put together a proposal that we thought would be fundable, and it was funded. And so we proceeded with this proposal and these 2 particular vendors. Does this make these vendors hardwired into providing this technology across the entire village when we upgrade our system? No. Yeah. They can throw their hat in the ring with anybody else.
Okay. One of these is just a screening, right?
One is a screening, and the other one is like
so
a sponge filtration.
The screen, we see the works of stuff doesn't go through the screen, and it doesn't restrict the water flow, correct?
According to the vendor, but we want to test that out. We want to see it.
Then we'll know if it works. If it doesn't create a blockage.
Correct.
And the water flow is not restricted substantially, correct?
Correct.
The other one, for lack of a whatever, is a bucket underneath the thing. What's the proper term?
Well, I mean, it's a bucket with sponge technology in it that filters out metals and grease and nutrients and stuff like that.
But basically, under filter rather than stopping the stuff go in.
Correct.
Once the water.
This SOP Technologies has a curb inlet grate. That's one type of filtration, and that also has an under-grate basket filter.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 2 mechanical filters, and then the other that we'll get to on the next resolution is the other vendor that's part of this proposal is more of a sponge technology to capture the oils and the grease and the metals and the nutrients. And that's a different type of technology.
I
So
understand.
there's two classes
No,
that
I
we're
should have
testing
said
out.
basket instead of bucket, sorry. But basically, it's what I'm referring to. I'm agreeing with you on both of these things, but I'm also agreeing completely with Brett. I mean, again, these people have been making this stuff, and obviously it works. I mean, the term they used in here, I think, is work. Like when I saw that, I said, wait a minute. Well, why are we doing a pilot project for something that's been manufactured and used in other areas? It seems to work, and obviously they must have all kinds of data on this thing. When
They do
went
have
around to sell
data,
it.
and the question still comes up. How do you know it's going to work here in Key Biscayne?
Yeah.
Key Biscayne is unique. We have
Right.
unique
Exactly.
inundation problems.
Okay.
So if it doesn't work, though,
Our water
we've paid the money to find out it doesn't work.
No, the
That's
state-
why I'm
the
like,
state
why
paid
don't they pay the money to show us it
Okay,
doesn't
well,
work?
hold on. Let him answer that question.
The state has granted us money that
That's-
we are using
Stands a fool.
to, okay?
And we have a
are
match. I
matching
get it.
25%.
I
Yes,
understand.
so we do pay a little bit to
What do we
find out
make,
whether or not
50,000?
something works that will have an impact on a multi-tens, hundreds of $1 million design for a stormwater system.
I think the
Yeah.
point is, if we don't use the grant money for that, then we would be.
We would have to give the money back.
No. Well, we'd have to give that money back, but to have the vendor come in here, we're probably not going to be able to get the grant for it, right? And so then what we're going to be stuck with is getting them to come in and see if they work, but it's going to cost us more money down the road. Let's utilize the state's money to move this along.
But if you know it works, then you buy it, the whole thing. I mean, you say, okay, we're going to use
You
it.
don't know that it works.
But we don't know that it works right now.
But what I'm telling you is you bring the vendor in to show us it works.
But every vendor is going to tell you their stuff works. You need to at least
No,
try it
I want them
out.
to put their product in and for a couple months and tell me it works. And then if it works, we'll buy it off. If it doesn't, take your product back.
It's a bad way. Councilmember
I don't
Kaplan?
know.
This seems highly rational to me. I can't think of a time on a material acquisition where we've really relied on effectiveness. We've relied on a vendor. I can think of at least one occasion where we did, to our disappointment. It was the field, the 20th expert on the turf Village Green that we relied on, and it didn't work.
Correct.
We didn't test it as we had thought we should, and it didn't work. This seems rational to me.
Now, AECOM is doing the development of the storm sewer system, right?
The design, yeah.
And this is one of the things they're recommending using, right?
Filtration, yes.
Yeah, filtration, sure.
Well, they recommended this particular thing.
No, they didn't make a specific recommendation for this.
Why not?
Because they're not at that point yet.
Then why are we at that point?
Because we're trying to get a little bit ahead of the game, and if this works, then it's something that gets put forward to AECOM as like, hey, this is something that we'd like you to consider in the design.
Have they used it in other places?
I don't know if AECOM has used these particular people in other places.
I mean, they do a lot of stuff besides our stuff. They're a big company, right?
Yeah, sure.
So maybe we even ask them, have they used this thing and how successful it was in different places?
That's certainly something that we could do, and we can come to them with the experience that we have in the quantification of the effectiveness of the particular technologies.
I'm done.
All right, so can you then answer me the question then, if there's a huge rain event that starts at 2 in the morning and this starts to really have some issues for low-lying properties, who's pulling those things out?
We could or they could.
But in the middle of the night, they're going to drive up and start pulling those things out because we have a problem. And who's responsible
No, that's
for
our public works that's going on. I mean, we've done that. We've had people had to come out.
Saturday night at
Saturday
2 in the
night
morning,
at
downpour's
LaFair,
coming
I
in.
can assure you, people have been out there
We
pulling
have
stuff so
people-
that they can make sure the water flows. Absolutely, 100%.
And who's liable if they don't pull it in time and water is going into houses? Is it us? Is it the vendor? Who?
God,
Do they
I
have
guess.
insurance for that or no?
I mean,
if their product is failing?
I would imagine that they do.
What's that?
They're not going to be responsible for that.
What's that?
They're not going to be responsible for that.
I don't know.
They're going to make a specification of what it should do. And then it's up to you to engineer.
Then we're going to have to engineer to do it.
And
I think if we, there's two, I mean, I don't know how we got down to the level of liability, but,
I'm just saying nobody's going to wander on their street.
The poor haphazard stormwater system we have in place right now, I mean, is the village's responsibility. And I mean, we are somewhat liable perhaps at this point. But really what we're trying to do is about water quality. We have a responsibility to the bay. We have a responsibility to test whatever it is to ensure that the water that's coming off of our village is in the best shape when it hits the bay, which, as we all know, has been damaged over the last years and key to the economy and the well-being of South Florida. So, we're trying the best we can. I think these are two good technologies. If more come along, we'll also test those as well. And we will. And I think that's a good idea that we talk to AECom and see what kind of recommendations they have as well.
All right, so call the question?
I'm going to call the question.
I would say we table it until they talk to AECom and bring it back.
I just called the question. You can vote, and then if you guys say no.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
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 Okay.
So 3-3.
Okay, next item. 3-3.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
So, no, that's not a denial, that's not an affirmative motion, so.
Say again? It just fails. It
It fails, there's no action on the item.
no action
So
on
the
it.
item is effectively, would you like to defer it to the next meeting?
Maybe ask AECom and defer to the next meeting.
And then why don't we just defer D, E, and E? Because there's no point in doing E if we're not doing anything. So defer to the next meeting?
I do want to make it clear, though, AECom is not the end-all be-all. I want to make sure we're not deferring that, final decision to someone like AECom.
All right, well,
Right, so.
Well, I think more just Ed had a question, what do they think of it, and would like that information.
No, we'll certainly get
they're
that.
not, I mean.
But I don't want them to be the decision makers. That's all.
Listen, we're the decision maker. They're just going to give us input if they have it, and we'll consider it.
All right.
That's all.
So I'm going to move to defer 10E to the next, excuse me.
When were you
I'm
thinking
making,
of doing this?
I'm asking.
It's already
guys,
underway. The fact of the matter is, we already accepted
the money.
from the
Yes, this is
state.
gonna
We
be-
already have accepted and put in place an agreement with the FDP
Not my problem,
to
man.
proceed with this pilot project.
This is,
So I mean, at this point, I'm totally confused as
Yeah,
to how we're proceeding.
We're just
But
deferring.
no, well, okay, so.
but
we're
this
gonna-
is a project that's already underway.
I understand. So I'm deferring, council member, I've got the floor right now, please. We're deferring 10E. I'm moving to defer 10E.
Second.
I'm sorry, we're on 10D.
10D's already been deferred by a 3-3 vote.
It's, I think there should be a motion.
All right, then I'll move
back.
10D and 10E to be deferred till the next meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So then 10D and 10E are being deferred to the next meeting. All right, 10F, a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, authorizing the village manager to issue a work order to Moffett and Nickel for permitting assistance services for the renewal of the village's beach nourishment project. Hold on a second, this is not right here. Okay.
What are you looking for?
Sorry, the title that I have. and
I got it.
Jocelyn had told me that there was an issue with Granicus, so maybe if you can read it.
I've got a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, authorizing the village manager to issue a work order to Moffett Nickel, Inc. for permitting assistance services for the renewal of the village's beach renourishment project permits from the United States Army Corps of Engineers, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, FDEP, and the Miami-Dade County Division of Environmental Resource Management, DERM, in an amount not to exceed $112,327, and providing for an effective date. Moved.
Second. Question. Roland, is this the thing we require by the state or federal government that they have to each year prepare a report on the beach and the sand thing? So we can.
No, this is different.
We keep the open
We
permit.
need to have permits in order to be able to do
I'm
our
sorry?
beach. We need to have permits in order to do our beach nourishment. Those permits are for 10 years. All of our permits, Army Corps, DEP, and DERM, are expiring in 2024.
I read
So
about
this
that.
is-
But
So
I
this
just-
is to
my
renew
question-
all those permits.
My question was,
This is
previously was brought up, I think that it was some company, and it was this or somebody else we had to hire because they had to write a report each year based on what we had done previously.
So after each nourishment that we do, you have to do 3 years of post-construction monitoring. So what you're referring to is one of those years of post-construction monitoring. That's what was approved
And that's the
last.
same people.
Same people,
Okay.
yeah.
That was my question.
But this is the open permit to keep us doing
Correct. So this is a renewal of a series of permits that expire in 2024 that are 10-year permits. So
So this takes us to 2034 then?
Correct.
Okay, excellent.
All good?
Yep.
Call it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Mayor, if I would too, as well, I think we all recognized when Hurricane Ian came out on the Atlantic side, we had quite an ocean swell. and I think you all saw the waves and the impact on our beach. We've lost a significant amount of sand, and we're going to actually do a survey so that we can compare today's loss to the original renourishment last year, right? Last year. So we get a good understanding what we lost, and if there is an opening of recovery funds, we'll submit that request for reimbursement.
That's part of this contract?
No.
No. This
Well,
is
they're doing something, a sketch on the beach and whatever else. I remember reading some evaluation, and if they broke all these things down, what they're going to do, about 14 different things. And one of the things was a sketch, I think, of the same.
Survey.
Okay. So you're saying that's not the same thing?
No,
Okay.
it's different.
All right, so we have
Next item?
item 10G, a resolution of the Village Council, Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, authorizing village manager to negotiate and enter into a First Amendment to the Landscape Maintenance Services Agreement with SFM Services to modify compensation amount not to exceed $69,854.77, and providing for an effective date.
Moved. Second.
What? Do we have a contract with these people?
Yes, sir, we do. We have an initial term of 2 years contract, which will expire next July.
And they're a financially stable company, big secure company?
I would say so.
You would or not?
I would.
Yeah, okay. Well, normally, one of the reasons you have contracts with people, we promise to pay, they promise to do, and they take the risk of hiring employees, getting equipment. I mean, I've been a contractor, I was for maybe 40, I mean, no one ever, so fine, things are bad, give me more money. Why are we going to give them more money? I mean, they're not going broke. Why are we going to give them more money?
I understand you have a valid point. Initial 2 years contract term doesn't call off any raise, but we are being a good partners, understand the economic circumstances out there to be a good partner and help them out.
But partner meaning we got plenty of money, we're just going to spend it?
No, that's not.
Are they losing money?
I didn't check their books. I don't know.
I mean, we're going to go ahead. I mean, if it wasn't a contract, it was some fly-by-night company and say, fine, if you don't give me some money, I'm going to not honor my contract. Then, okay, well, we're behind the 8 ball. That's why we deal with reputable companies, not to be in that position. But why would we go ahead and give them extra money? It doesn't make any sense to them.
But again, we recognize the increase in the fuel, the labor, and everything else in the market. And also there are other municipalities that are doing the same thing.
Oh, well, then we should follow suit.
I don't like to have to do this on my last resolution, but I agree with Ed. Yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunately.
That was good.
I'm not, I hate to go out this way, but
Well, their contract is up in July. I mean, we're talking about,
Yeah.
what, 7, 8 more months?
It is. I mean, so it has 2 renewals, again, optional. We may opt out and then we may not renew. It's up to the council. And it will be before you in July. Now, we also realize that, again, the prices out there went up way more than 10%. And if you do opt out of this contract in July, we know that at least 1 quarter of the year, we'll have a new vendor or maybe the same vendor, but a different contract. We're going to pay high prices. Actually, we took that into account to budget this year, so we have enough funds to pay for it in the event that we have a new contract with a lot more, greater than 10% increase in contract.
Go ahead, council member.
It's very hard to go against the common sense and logic of Ed London.
Well, okay. You just conflated 2 things there.
The capitalists on the way up and the socialists on the way down. If you need public funds, if we have a contract, we have a contract.
Yes, sir.
They are doing a great job. This is not a reflection on their quality. It's just basic business practice, right? Like you call it that we needed to be, you said, good partners.
Let me ask you this follow-up. Sorry. Go ahead. No, I guess my follow-up would be, you said, this 69, they may help us with their contract going forward. What guarantee do we have that they will,
It is not. It is no more than a handshake. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I have a hard time, unless you're telling me, if this 70,000 is going to guarantee that the next contract is going to be
Lower than anybody else.
Lower than anybody else, and they're going to we're going to save money with the next contract, then I understand invest. Look, if I come to you and say, I'll do this work for you and your next contract will be X, this much lower because you are seeing me through a tough time, assuming it is a tough time, fine, I get it. But we're negotiating against ourselves on this contract. And I kind of feel like
that's unlikely to happen.
There's a devil's advocate point of view that I'll just express. The philosophy is Contracts are amended when circumstances change. It depends on an arm's length agreement, two counterparties. One doesn't have to. One makes a rational decision often to either do so or not, depending on circumstances.
So, and again, just remind me, what's the downside of saying, no, we want to live out the contract and we'll roll the dice in July of next year?
Again, downside is, I mean, contractor may not perform. That's it could happen.
That's
Whether breach of contract,
and
no?
then they may breach the contract, but again, then we deal with it when we get there. I mean, that's a possibility. I don't think they're going to do that.
Do you think they wouldn't bid for a renewal?
But they would. Right. Yeah, I mean, I believe we have profitable account for them. That's for sure.
Already?
But again,
Have they offered anything to us for the increase?
In exchange, no.
I mean, that,
Again, our recommendation is that we have every contractor asking for increase, and we looked at our neighbors, City of Miami, Miami Beach. There are increases being provided to contractors up to 20%. Again, we just did comparison, and as a department, this is our recommendation, but here's before.
so what would this increase be on a percentage basis?
It's about 10%, but again,
that was my question.
it's no greater than $70,000. But it is not. We could spend up to $70,000, but we usually exercise about 60 to 70% of this contract because it's a menu of contract items that we have access to.
I mean, look, they've worked with us. I respect they've come out when we've had problems with their service. They have come out. They've addressed Christian's a good guy. I respect them, but I'm hesitant to say, yeah, let's.
This is business.
Business, yeah. I mean,
I
you
respect
enter
your
a
decision,
contract. I
understand.
can't, if I charge somebody an hourly rate, I can't go back later and say, you know what, that was a much more difficult motion to draft. I really need
Next contract you
$600
can,
an hour.
but-
Although it happens.
But yeah, I did that to you because you deserve it. But everybody else,
These things happen. Business is business. Business includes some measure of flexibility in one's discretion.
Right.
It's a decision.
Okay.
Can you call the question? Matt?
Yeah, we're going to call the question.
So this is a question on a motion to approve.
Right.
All right, so all in favor?
Yes,
Roll call.
I would approve it.
All right, Councilmember Laredo, you'd like a roll call?
Why?
I think so.
No, just,
He's asked for a roll call.
okay, if he asks, then give him a roll call.
All right.
I'm
Then-
sorry, what is it that you want to make?
I was just going to do a voice vote, but let's just do the roll call.
done by now.
Let's do the roll call.
All right, roll call. Councilmember Kaplan,
Yes.
Councilmember Laredo,
No.
Councilmember London,
No.
Councilmember McCormick,
No.
Vice Mayor Moss,
No.
Mayor Davy.
Okay, that's 4 votes against. I'm going to vote yes, just so I can go against Ed.
Thank you.
Going out the way I came in. Okay.
Oh, well.
So,
I said some nice things about you.
Yes, you
tonight.
did.
What a
She
mistake.
forgot about him. All right, next
So that
item.
was that
We've
was a
got the
gesture
manager's
of-
report at 8 o'clock.
That was a gesture of some sympathy for changed circumstances.
I understand. I understand why you did it. I respect that, but I think it's,
so technically that was a motion to approve. It didn't really dispose of the item, so I
Correct.
think we will just, I think to the manager, would you like to just withdraw it at this time and we'll come back? Or on that item?
What are we doing?
Yeah. Okay, all right, that's what we'll do.
What are we doing?
they withdrew the item. It's done.
What are we doing?
It was a motion to approve. We didn't approve it, so it's gone. Just
Oh, okay.
have some time.
All right. So,
The mayor just said it's important, it's not a motion to reconsider, it's a motion to reject.
Correct. So, next item?
so, all right. The next item is.
Manager's report, we're after 8 o'clock.
Okay, that's fine. Or if
I
you
mean,
want to
well,
concede to public comments. We have
Do you
the
mind if I do public comment? I'm going to open up
Go to your
for
report.
public comments. Anybody want to speak on anything? Go ahead.
I can't hear, I have to talk.
Of course.
Good evening, I'm Patricia Romano, 361 Beechwood Drive. I really wasn't coming when I realized that it was the last meeting for this council. So I really want to thank you, the two who are absent, and I want to thank you, Mr. London, even though I know probably I'll see you again the next time around. And Mr. David, thank you for all your service, and I hope you get so bored at home that you will run again. Okay, so
Thank you so much.
have fun. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Ciao. All right, anybody else? Let's, Evan, one more time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are watching on Channel 77 or Channel 99, on AT&T Uverse, or streaming live on our website, if you would like to speak, please call 305-365-7569 and enter the Zoom meeting ID 231-627-8415, followed by pound. Then press 9, which will place you in the public comments queue. When it is your turn, you will be called upon by the last 4 digits of the telephone number. Press star 9 to raise your hand, and when it is your turn, star 6 to unmute yourself. If you have joined the Zoom app, please click the raise hand button, and you will be loaded. It is your turn to speak.
Evan, you've got a future in voiceovers. I'm just going to put it out there.
Thank you, sir.
That's the clerk. The clerk did not mute herself. She's paying attention. She's at a conference. She's apparently in the hotel minibar.
Is that a nitrous oxide conference?
Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, we're going to close public comments.
All right.
Then we're going to go to the manager's report.
Manager's report it is.
8:10.
Mr. Mayor, I'm
8:08.
quite impressed that you got within 10 minutes of the manager's report.
Oh, I roll, baby.
Well done. So what we have to follow is a 3-hour presentation.
Motion to adjourn.
But before we start, I'd like, one of the council members requested an update on the Cranium Boulevard project, the FPL transmission line. I'm going to ask Jake to come forward to present that.
I spoke with the FPL rep today. Majority of the work is done. There are 2 crossings that they've left. One is just before the Bearcat Bridge. They need to cross from east to west side and install conduit. And there's another one just before the entrance to the village. This work is going to be done in the next 2 weeks. And then all the digging is going to be done at that point. And then after that, it's going to take them about 2 weeks to pull cables. And very likely that they're going to be, again, temporary restoration on the area that they're crossing. And either first or second week of December, they're going to do the full pavement restoration. That's their plan as of now. And I think they should have no problem achieving that goal.
All right, so mid-December, it should be all done.
Mid-December is going to be all paved. But again, once you do these crossings, the 2 weeks they're going to take time to pull the cables. It's going to be very minimal MOT.
Yeah.
There will be no disruption traffic. It's very minimal.
Yeah, the only thing really left is just repavement on what we see, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, for the next topic, Scoot Safe campaign, I would like the mayor to be here because I think this is something we do need to discuss.
Do you want to go to the next one and then we'll come back to this?
What I'll do is we'll just do a quick update on.
He's here.
Does he come back in? I'd also like Councilmember London to be here too as well.
Oh, okay. Let's go to the next one then.
All right. So, Jeremy, you got a quick update on the building research and floodplain in 3 minutes or less.
I'm going to put the timer up.
Yeah, put the timer on.
So I have
fast forward.
I have Renee, our building official, with me here as well. But in general, we're continuing to make good progress on the building recertifications. We have moved an additional.
Yeah, we have so far on from the first phase, we have 24 buildings pending. 19 of them are working in the process of doing the permits and doing the work, and there are 5 that we are continue talking to them to apply for the permits. They've had some issues with lack of engineers available to be able to complete the scope of work, but we have them scheduled for hearing next month. But I believe they might come before that with permit applications to start the process.
Good. In those cases, the hang-up is available professionals as opposed to lack of will, or?
Well,
it's hard to distinguish between the two at times, which is why we are bringing them to the special magistrates.
Perfect. And I want to put this into context, and again, I want to thank Renee and as well as Jeremy. If you recall, it's almost a year and a half ago, When we came out of Surfside, we were at 78 buildings that we need to get moving on, so we're down to 5. So that's been a long drawn, and I appreciate the work that they've done.
Everybody's been cooperating.
Ensure that our residents are safe.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the efforts.
Thank you.
All right. Next item?
What's the second one?
Floodplain?
Flood. So this is actually the annual floodplain report. So it's something presented to council annually. It has sort of a summary of overall issues. Again, this presentation of information is something else that helps us with our CRS score. Always with that in mind. And if you had any questions particular about the report, let me know.
Reach out. Thank you, sir.
Rowan, if you give us a quick update on the freebies.
The beach operations.
So yeah, regarding freebie, we did roll out a 6th vehicle about 2 weeks ago because we had additional CITT funds. That 6th vehicle's on the road. We're collecting data on ridership and response times.
Is it a different design?
Do they
I noticed one with a different design, like a rear door that's different than, I don't know, maybe it looked like it could help handicapped people get around.
They do have one ADA accessible vehicle.
Cool. I like that.
Of the 6, one of them is.
Okay.
So that may be the one that you saw. But yeah, that vehicle's out on the road. And regarding the grant that we submitted to the FDOT Transit Development Program, we should be hearing this month or November as to whether or not we get funding for an additional 3 vehicles, which is the 6th plus 2.
Awesome. All
Yeah,
right, cool.
so that's where we're at on that.
Thank you. And then beach easements?
Regarding beach easements, every soap opera has a good twist. This was a really good twist.
No, it was not
The
a really good
underwriter reversed their opinion in regards to whether or not we should have the easement with the Island House versus Commodore Club South. Turns out it's with Commodore Club South. Weiss Sirota has reached out to the attorney at Commodore Club South with an easement agreement to have reviewed by their attorney and the board, and we're moving forward with Commodore Club South. Similarly, with Casa del Mar, a draft easement agreement has been provided to their attorney. They're reviewing it, and the hopes is that we move forward with them and get these 2 additional paths completed. And then I'll let Chad sort of address what's being done relative to the underwriter's error and the legal fees that we're going to cover as part of the agreement moving forward. So
okay.
Maybe you can
Well, we
shed some light on
obviously,
that.
this is not something that occurs very often, but the underwriter was
Who
at
was the underwriter?
Fidelity.
It was Fidelity.
And they were adamant, from what I understand, speaking with Roland and my partner Ed, in their position. They reversed course. And we are now speaking with the higher level folks there to try to come to a resolution on.
How much did we incur? I'm just curious, like, what was our cost?
I don't know what our cost is, but obviously Island House had costs too. So I don't know offhand, but we are in the process of meeting with them. We have briefed the regional supervisor, and now we're elevating it. So we'll report back.
Perfect.
On
All
that.
right, thank you. Onward or upward? Next. Seawall ordinance.
Yep. This has to do with basically unifying our seawall crest heights. It's a complicated issue, as you can imagine. We had a technical report undertaken as a technical justification for language that we would be developing as to how to proceed with getting seawalls raised and looking at innovative approaches to seawalls and integrating living shorelines and other types of approaches. We have drafted up some seawall ordinance language. We looked at ordinance language that was developed by Fort Lauderdale, by Broward County, by the City of Miami, by City of Miami Beach, North Bay Village, and currently that draft language is being reviewed by Weiss Sirota, and we're taking points that were made and brought forward in the technical report, the technical justification. It's like a guidance documents that would be paired with the ordinance to sort of refine our language and look at triggers as to what would initiate changes in seawalls. And all of that is essentially a work in progress. The next thing that we're going to do is start reaching out to the public for, getting stakeholder input. Most of it would be coming from homeowners on the backside of the island.
I thought that, just by the way, we took a boat ride with the Congresswoman Salazar last Thursday, which was productive because they submitted that letter today, I guess, to the Corps in support of what we're doing. And I thought, Roland, your presentation was awesome. She understood it. And she got the points that we were trying to make. And it was also informative to me. And you realize there are a lot of different levels of seawalls throughout the island. We don't really we think, oh, there's a seawall, but the fact is, even on one block on South Mashta, you can see the differences. And we're going to have to make it uniform and higher. So I thought really appreciate your efforts last Thursday.
I brought up before to council, since we don't know how the final result is going to be, and then people will say, come in for building permit on a waterfront property, then I might go ahead, build a seawall to our current standards, and then we're going to change it, and then they're going to have to redo it. My point was, we should either declare a moratorium, whatever else you can do, and say, fine, you do what you want, build the thing, but there's nothing that we can tell you today that's going to be the final solution, and you're going to be liable or responsible to correct the seawall, raise the seawall, change the seawall, if in fact when we get our new standard. And I just thought that should be done so people don't think, hey, I go ahead and I put a new seawall in, and then all of a sudden we say, hey, sorry, no good. I mean, the people have had it for 30 years. Okay, probably needs replacing anyway. But I'm talking about somebody brand new, and the next year, all of a sudden we come back with something. So
there's that house on Harbor Point we saw that's redoing their seawall as we speak.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
To put that
that's a valid point.
To put that into the thing, so people
suggesting an interim, I don't know if the word's a policy or some sort of notification that we're planning to move to 6.6 feet. Anything done in between now and then is your responsibility.
Well, what one of the recommendations from the report, I believe, is to design the seawalls to be able to be elevated. So when these new seawalls come in, they're supposed to be designed, I think, to prepare for an additional 2 feet.
Yes, that's correct.
So, there is going to be that built in. There is also what we've looked at, and we're meeting next week, is built-in notice provisions to buyers of homes also, talking about that, hey, your seawall may have to come up. As far as the trigger factors and what you're talking about and maybe interim measures, we haven't got there yet, but it's something we'll talk about. I think, Steve, what you're talking about is similar to like a zoning in progress type thing, which is something we consider too. But these are all factors that we're taking into consideration when we're preparing the ordinance.
But then we got to do it quickly before people come and go do things, and then we tell them, hey, sorry, it's no good. At least
we have been approached by people who are in the process of considering redoing their seawall, and they've asked us what we believe they should be raising their seawalls to, and we've been telling them 6.5, because the city of Miami went to 6, and the Miami-Dade County flood criteria is going to 6.5. And so we're looking to probably be in that range, 6 to 6.5, with the thought that they'd be able to increase it by 2 feet over the years as necessary, given the lifespan of the seawall. And so that's something that we're already putting out there to people who are approaching us, but it's not a formalized thing.
How about in basically telling them it would cost very little on your vertical rebar? Again, the higher you go, possibly you need a bigger diameter rebar, but assuming it's not going to be that much higher. So to put a potential connector on there, so if you have to do it, it's easy to get there, because you don't weld rebar, you lap rebar, but you can't use. There's a building inspector.
I'm not a general contractor.
I know, but I'm just saying.
My PhD. So I'm not making design recommendations, but I'm giving them recommendations as to where
we put in the code. So if we do want to raise it, it's easy to raise it. It's not a major problem. That's all.
Well, no, that's the intent, is to, obviously, I think the person would want to make it as least costly as possible. Obviously, there's a lot of engineer solutions that can be done to do that. but that will be the requirement. You know, if we choose to go to 6.5, which I believe will be our recommendation, the second part of it will be with the ability to go to 8.5 feet when necessary.
I'm saying put the connectors, make that a requirement, so whatever it is, it's easy to do.
I think it's a good solution. We'll look at it. I mean, we're in the middle of preparing it now. I think it's a good suggestion. We'll talk it over with
the Howlands,
with Moffitt, and we'll consider it. I think it's a good
But
suggestion.
in the interim, we should tell, the building department should tell anybody who comes in for a permit that, hey, this is undergoing this thing going now. And
That's fair.
you're at your own risk until we do it.
Do we, Chad, I mean, do we have an ability just to put a notification, a piece of paper, if someone's going to do a seawall, just hand it to them? Just be.
No, I mean, the way that you do what Councilmember London's talking about, the way you do it legally is effectively a zoning in progress, where you say that if you're going to build a seawall, you need to build it to this standard while we are drafting. It's something that we consider doing. I think it's a little more complicated to, and I'm going to defer to Roland, but I think it's a little more complicated to just say the seawall has to be this height everywhere. I think it may vary. I don't know, depending on the areas of the island.
Well, there are ways to redesign your seawall such that you still are safeguarding your neighbors in the public right of way, and you may have a natural shoreline or a living shoreline like mangroves, but you have also like terrace things on your property that kind of act as barriers for water from getting to your neighbors in the road. So they might not necessarily have a seawall that's got a crest height of 6.
And one thing I'll say also is that I think that it's the manager's expectation that this ordinance come pretty quickly. And once we go to first reading, we could also announce at that point in time a zoning in progress. So I think we're about there, Councilmember London. I think that, we're hoping to go to first reading pretty quickly.
Okay.
So
bring it back.
Is there any chance they're going to use riprap, to require riprap?
Yep. Riprap. There's also alternatives to riprap, sea hives, which are sort of like a next generation version of riprap and a little bit more green, shall we say, living shoreline-y.
Yeah, we're also considering living shorelines, which we have to work with DERM regarding that too.
Yeah.
So there's a variety. I mean, I think it's best to save this presentation to when we have everything, and we can give you guys the full
and the
menu of
technical
options.
report is already something that we can provide to you, which also lays out a lot of the details on different types of seawalls, different types of living shorelines, hybrid living shorelines, and so that's something that I can already forward to you if you want to take a look at it.
Could the zoning department, when they come in for their initial plan review for zoning, could we give them some information at that point in time, what we're doing, what's happening?
I think we could
Jeremy's
post we could post our report, the Moffitt report, which has also cost figures too for people. I think doesn't it? I think.
Yeah, for different types of seawall approaches, they
So,
have
I mean, we can
per
do that.
linear foot type costs and things
I think
like
we can add ours as well as the county's ordinance that they're working on, work in progress as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right.
Next item.
All right, so we're going to go back now that we have the current members here. I'd like Chief Souza to come up and talk about our Scoot Safe campaign.
Nobody showed. The end.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. Just to bring another brief update of where we stand with Scoot Safe. So yes, we did conduct an additional 2 parent classes. So we've conducted a total of 3 parent classes, and we've had a total of 4 parents show up.
2 kids.
And 2 kids. Shall I say 4 adults, because 2 of them were senior citizens whose kids had already grown up. We do continue our Scoot Safe initiatives. We've done 47 traffic details, which has resulted in 129 stops, physical warnings to kids on scooters. I will say that we have seen much greater compliance with the scooters. Our biggest problem is the electric bikes, the ones with the fat tires, which is a more convoluted, complicated issue than scooters. We are going to the PTA on Thursday at K8, and we're teaching a group of 45 parents on Scoot Safe. The PTA created that with the new principal for us to do that. However, we are at a crossroads here. So,
Question for you, Frank.
Tough.
yes, sir.
The fat tire ones that don't have to be pedaled, but they're actually electric bikes or electric scooters. If it was a gasoline engine, Chad, then it would be regulated, is that correct?
I believe that it's not that it's gasoline. There's 3 different levels of the
Well,
bicycles.
no, these are the type 3 I'm talking
The
about.
type 3.
That's what we're talking about.
The type 3 is their gas.
No, type 3 is electric. You got the ones that go to 20 miles an hour.
Right.
You got the 28, and the ones that go without doing anything, they're completely electric. So my question is, the ones that are completely electric, the fat tire ones you're talking about, there is a regulation. If I have a motor scooter, 50cc or Whistler motorbike, that needs a license plate, and it's regulated.
And the license. The problem, council member, is they have pedals.
Right.
And that's where the law becomes
But
fuzzy,
if
because the state statute states if it can be operated via pedal, they're to be treated as a bicycle.
Even if they have a motor.
Even if it doesn't need the pedals.
Correct.
Correct.
It's interesting. Like you can put pedals in your cars and then.
So I'll just give you an idea. I was
You
out
don't
at
need any
Village
license
Green.
or anymore. Just leave them.
To defend Council Member London here, I was at Village Green and happened to stop a young man who had one of these electric bicycles. I got on it. That thing was well in excess of 30 miles an hour.
To give yourself a ticket?
No, I told him he's not allowed on the sidewalk anymore. It was a training exercise.
Hope you had a helmet on.
All right. Well, start.
So excuse me, so then that becomes one of our legislative things for our lobbyists?
Correct.
Well, I think the question is, is that type of class of bicycle something that you would want to prohibit? The level 3, for example.
No.
Which is, and I pulled up the definition, it's equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling and that ceases to provide assistance when the electric bicycle reaches the speed of 28 miles per hour.
No, because
That's
these
level
don't need
3.
assistance.
Level 1 is up to 20.
Level
Then
1's
level
up to
2,
20.
I think, is you don't need a pedal at all. And level 3 is up to 28.
Level 2 is a motor that may be used exclusively to propel electric bike. Correct.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. So
But isn't level 2
2
worse?
is exclusive. Level 1 and level 3 is you're actually
Pedal
pedaling. So
assistance.
you would want to maybe preclude the exclusive level 2.
So now my question is, except for Cranium Boulevard, I guess, and Harbor Drive, these are all village streets? Can't we regulate on village streets or not?
Yes, we can regulate on village streets.
So can't we say on village streets you can't operate a level 2?
Class 2 is what you're saying.
Unless
I
you
think-
pedal.
Well,
Of
no,
course,
class.
you'd have to catch them.
Yeah, you have to catch them, not
No,
pedaling.
class.
use it
a
on
cla-
I was
no, that would-
coasting.
That would be a class 1 that could pedal.
Or
and
class 3, either way.
Well, yeah, but class 3 would go up to 28 miles per hour.
Can you limit speed or no?
Oh, it's speed limit.
Anything under
I think
15 miles an hour
I
maximum?
think that we can eliminate class 2
Well, that's
if
what
it's
I'm
something
talking
you
about.
want to do. I think we can go back and look at it. I know we went around and around, but if that's something, I think, I gotta.
You're going to have to come back with something.
No, we're just talking.
Yeah, but 28 miles an hour is too much.
No, 28 miles per hour is class 3. Class 2 is 20.
But you're going to pedal like hell to keep it going 28. It doesn't go 28 by itself. It's pedal assisted. 1 and 3 are pedal assisted. 1, you can't pedal. When you have a class 1, when you go above 20, the motor cuts out. So you can pedal like hell, but the motor's doing nothing. The other one, the motor doesn't cut out until 28.
Correct. And then the class 2 is that it can exclusively be propelled by
The motor.
by the motor, and it ceases to provide assistance when it reaches. It can't go over 20.
But you have to assume, don't you, that no one.
Wait, hold on. Councilmember Laredo has a question real quick on this.
Probably not, yeah.
Yeah, can we kind of ground this? Chief, you said that you were at crossroads.
Right.
Unquote. What is your recommendation briefly? What the city attorney, village attorney just recommended?
Yeah.
Do you support?
I do support what he's saying. I will say that I believe we've made tremendous strides with the scooters. Look, there's always room for improvement, but the majority of the kids we're stopping have helmets and are adhering to the rules for the most part. These electric bicycles with the fat tires are a significant concern, and obviously they have the ability to go
Too fast.
much quicker than the electric
So the short
scooter.
answer is yes? you support that we make it legal a category 2?
So
Can you guys just bring something back to us the next meeting?
Bring something back next meeting. This is
Yeah,
not a decision.
what you recommend.
I would recommend that. It has to come before, and I can work with the attorney to craft something because listen, it's going to have serious ramifications at our schools. Like if you look at K-8 in St. Agnes, I'd venture to say 30% of the transportation are the fat bikes right now.
And masked. We now see, in addition to the few kids that ride a regular ordinary bicycle, there's almost a motorcycle gang of kids on these fat tires, but their parents aren't driving them. And we said, you ride your bike, do this.
This is a conversation you've got to have. You're not going to be. We're not doing anything tonight to
bring it back and let's have the discussions.
Let's come back something right. Parents have to have the right, because parents are going to have, like to your point, there are kids who are using them to get to school. We're going to have a full. You're going to have a full.
Yeah, another full conversation.
If you're going to work through this as you are, don't ignore class 3.
Right. No, work through it all.
Kids don't pedal those things. They use the motor.
No. The ones I've encountered.
They're all pedaling?
No, they're not.
Nobody.
No, they're not.
Yeah, right.
They're riding like motorcycles.
Right.
And it is terrifying when you see 3 kids on one of them and that helmet hanging off the handlebars and they're flying down Cranium Boulevard.
Yeah.
All right, bring it back.
I think we'll bring something back, but I do agree with what Councilmember London also said, and I know the manager, that this should be part of our legislative platform still going forward.
Yeah.
These uses still need better regulation.
Yeah.
When do we send our stuff up to the state? Or when do we?
We're already working with our lobbyist right now. We have a final meeting on, I think that's 24th, whatever next Friday is, 21st.
So you bring it to us in November to go to priorities?
We'll bring it up forward,
Okay.
And this year's session obviously starts late because of the election.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple more weeks to go through.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item. Benjamin? Colleen, you're on deck. Start warming up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to give a brief update on our financial transparency platform, which is called ClearGov. I know I had kind of teased this 6-7 months ago. So we were working on this in the background. So I'm going to go over some of the public-facing portions of the portal real quickly, and then also talk about some of the benefits internally that I think are going to be useful as well. So we have a live link on our village website that'll go directly to this page in ClearGov. It's got some quick demographic snapshots of the village. If you scroll down, it has financial overviews, 5-year trends, analysis. You can dig deeper into certain departmental expenses and revenues as well. The software is also going to help us produce the budget book. We took a lot of feedback from some of the comments we heard at the budget workshop, budget hearings as well. It's going to give you the ability to dig down and really see those budgeted amounts, year-to-date spends over time. So instead, the benefit of this is instead of waiting for me to present these numbers at a council meeting, it's going to be a live interactive website that y'all can use, the public as well. Any external stakeholder can just, from the comfort of their home, dig right in and see where the village is to date. Another portion of this is the checkbook. I'll talk about what we do right now is we load both Excel and PDF files every month of every check that the village cuts. With this functionality here, you're able to just type in a vendor name. If I put in, you can start typing.
SFM.
It's got checks going back to date, so you can run different queries and reports instead of static documents. You had to go there.
I didn't mean to. I was just like top of mind. That was the first one kept in
Can
my
you
head.
search also, like, want to see how much we're paying consultants? Because I put consultants in, it'll come up with all the people that are consultants.
So you'd have to have the name of the vendor. Additionally, if you remember, if I talked about some of the other financial transparency we delivered with getting all the ordinances, resos, and contracts online in another platform, you can look up the contracts as well. This will just have the amount, the dollar amounts paid.
So all the contracts up online now, right?
Those have been online,
Okay,
yeah.
but
Sorted.
my point is, like, I don't know the name of the people who just we're going to the contract for the beach, for the sand. And so I don't know their name. But but I'm just saying, I want to know about the beach contracts. I can't search on that yet. So I want to know the names of the.
Answer is no, it's okay.
No, but I want to give, I want to be a way to mitigate that. Another way to do that through this is to look at, if you know it's in the Public Works Department, you could look at the budgeted amount we have. You could dig down and see the budgeted amount for, it would at least give you a ballpark amount that's budgeted. That, yeah, we'd have to communicate and figure out the names.
Having answered that, could we add another column and say, fine, consultants are number 3, contractors are this, various different things. So now I know that I want to search on consultants. So now I got consultants, and then the consultant is back down. This is a water consultant. This is different things that we use. So I can search on that, not having to know the name of the contractor or go through the budget or anything else. Can we add that to the thing?
It really deals.
To make it really useful.
Yeah.
Because it'll also be difficult
We'll
to
bring
really
that up
search.
to the vendor who runs this and see if that's functionality that we're willing to add. If enough municipalities
find out, okay.
recommend it, we could definitely look into doing that. So
Thank you.
You've got a vertical column category already that's unpopulated.
So the category description actually has to do with when we export from our ERP financial system that shows where it's recorded in terms of our budget. So if we're querying it that way, it might be a little more difficult for what Councilmember London is trying to do, but we'll work with the developer to see if that's an option.
Thank you.
Really the benefit of this, rather than have one document for each month posted, is you're able to search and query a range from start to finish. You're able to export it to Excel and do a lot of the modifications you want. Additionally, on the capital projects, Colleen's going to be presenting next on some of the details of the projects, but if you look here, there's a nice map with the details of the project, which shows you geographically where these projects are being held, and she'll go into some more of the further functionality. When you click on each project, some of the information you're going to see, and it's going to be live and updated continuously.
So now I want to find out how much Todd's getting paid. Can I just go there and it shows me how much Todd's getting paid?
So I was going to get into that. So on the internal portion of this, we did purchase the personnel budgeting module, and what that's going to be helpful in us to do is, for instance, we have these collective bargaining agreements coming up. We're going to be able to run quick scenario-based analysis on our personnel. If there's a request for a 1% COLA, or we'll be able to kind of run those scenarios and give quicker and better answers to advise the council when they're making those kind of decisions.
So going back to Todd, so I'm going to see what Todd earned plus the Social Security, all the other things that we pay. Will that be all broken down?
It's going to be in the personnel module in this company, but it's not a functionality we've turned
But
online
that's going to
yet.
be put on shortly?
At some point?
At some point, once we further, I mean, we wanted to go with the main items first. That's a later, that's a later module that we're still implementing, but we could turn it on.
We don't have that module.
We did purchase it. We haven't fully implemented. I'm giving just an update
so
of the parts that we have.
It just hasn't been put on yet.
It's coming. But also
Todd, you're
more.
in trouble.
But is your answer, are you in part hedged because of a privacy concern?
No, it's all public record. Sometimes, and we have the same challenge with our budget, is that when either a new employees come and negotiate for their salary or a vendor, when you have all, I mean, it's a give and take here, right? We want to show our hand immediately. So sometimes there's reservations as to what you do put online. Obviously, if the request has been made, as Councilmember London did just a few days ago, I'll obviously respond very quickly and the information will be available. So, and then the last portion I wanted to mention, internal rather than external, is that this program will also help us in developing our actual budget book and be eligible for some of the GFOA awards for budgeting, which we have never achieved. We're basically using right now Excel and Word and making it work, but this is really going to get us to the next level in terms of budgeting and transparency.
Cool.
All right.
Sounds good.
Good.
That'll be Ed's favorite site.
Users. Look at this one guy.
Exactly.
Always
Colleen?
on it.
Yes, Benjamin showed a little bit of what we got going on.
Yes. Councilmember.
Sorry, before Ben, can Ben come up?
Come back, Ben. He's on his way.
What'd you do?
What'd you do, Ben?
Yes.
Then I want to say that I leave 4 years of service, that I leave with incredible comfort, that leaving you behind since you came in terms of financial controls. And openness and transparency. It's like a completely different company, as I call our village, that one I came in 4 years ago. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're up.
Okay. So the capital improvement program component of this is, I think, pretty amazing. We have developed and we put in every single project that you saw in the budget all the way through 2028. And this is just showing fiscal year 23, but as you can see, you have the total capital requested. It breaks it out by the department that's requested it. You can click on a particular one, like down here, and it'll turn it off, turn it back on. This is all something that a public-facing person can interact with in real time. You can see it by total requested funding source. And then you can also see all of these individual project pages. So if we click on Beach Park, for example, we're going to get the budget book version of this. This is slightly different, same information, slightly different format than the project page that Benjamin was showing you. But it shows you the capital cost, and it shows you how many years we've programmed out and by what phase of the project. And you can even go by funding source. So it's pretty amazing. And I don't have the tab pulled up here, but I have one that is all of our program years, and you can see the graph of all of those tabs going out. It's very fun to look at if you're into data. For example, we'll click on Paradise Park. This is the project page, the prettier version of what I just showed you. It's a description of Paradise Park. We just saw the brownfield presentation that was passed today. We can upload photos, so people can click on these. They'll blow up a little bit, and you have a little bit of a description. You can upload any supporting materials we want for all of these projects. So we have the construction schedule that I can update regularly as we get those, so it can be up to date in real time. A project map you can zoom in on and zoom out, project timeline, so you have on the right things that have already happened, on the left things that are going to happen. So October 11th is the first public hearing for the brownfield designation. That'll go to the other side after today. And then again, you have the proposed budget and the funding sources and expenditures over time. For projects that have longer year timelines, the expenditures over time graph will be more than just a dot. It shows several years. And then finally, you have the current phase of the project, which is specific to that project. We can change any of these tabs depending on what type of project it is. If it's a purchase, you might not have a design or a permitting phase, so we don't have to have those in there. Then you have the project manager, and the public can put in a comment or start a discussion, and we have discretion over what stays or goes in that respect, so we can kind of monitor any nefarious public comments. I know that sounds strange.
Tell me
but
this isn't a chat. Just tell me this is not a freaking chat.
This is a chat. I can turn it off. I can completely turn it off, but I thought I'd leave it up to you guys if you want the public comment option on these projects.
I have a question about it.
Yeah.
My first question is, how do we maintain it as a public record? Do you have a way that it's backed up and does the clerk have access to that? Because even if it's something that you remove, if it was placed there, it's a public record.
So you mean by a document kind of thing? Yes, so all of the public records we have regardless. This is merely
the comments specifically.
Oh, the comments specifically. Yes, I don't think we can keep track of those completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And monitor. We will have to do, there is software we can purchase, and we'll have to look into that.
For sure. We can also just turn it off if we want to.
People are pretty cool and calm
I didn't realize
on chats,
I was
right?
opening up a can of worms.
Well, I
by leaving the
like
comment
the
box.
idea of there being an easy way for people to ask a question when they're specifically looking at it, but I wonder if maybe like an email link might be better or something rather than, I mean, if we now have to purchase additional software to maintain it as a public record, and how much time does it take to monitor? Is this an easy thing for you guys to monitor?
Well, I would say it might not be necessary to put an email link if the project manager's contact information is emailed on this page anyways.
Yeah.
So by removing the comment section, that doesn't mean someone can't contact the project manager directly. Additionally, we are implementing C-Click-Fix, and it's integrating with our 311 platform. So a way someone might think that this should be used is to report something that's at the park that is more of a 311 call, which would actually take longer to get through our 311 and C-Click-Fix system because it's not integrated like that.
So maybe it is better to not have that here.
Yeah.
If you have, I mean, I want to be very clear, I'm not trying to limit public engagement on this stuff.
No,
So
right.
if the contact information is listed there,
Yes.
I think that may be sufficient.
It's a more direct line to the person that would be able to answer the question, at least.
But why, you can't have it so it just goes, like nobody can see it. It's just, they can write something there and say press, and you would review it. And what happens is you'll start getting the same questions, and then you could put a question in, like a, what do they call, frequently asked questions.
Frequently asked
And you
questions,
just put it there saying like, a lot of people are asking that, because if it's like a chat, so, you see this on like Amazon all the time, that people keep
Right.
asking the same question because you can't sit there and read through all the
No, that's
questions to find out the same thing that the guy just asked, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think
But,
frequently asked
also-
questions and allow them to be able to communicate in one direction.
If it's like a chat,
Yeah, I'll have to ask them.
Never
about
worked.
that.
there's a problem, and I have a bias, because if there's, for example, you see this on chats, there's an allegation, there's, let's say, misinformation.
Right, right.
You have an affirmative responsibility to respond. It's very difficult to keep up with that.
Yeah, I agree. I like where they could send something to you.
Without anybody seeing.
Own it. Nobody sees it until you say, hey, this is a frequently asked question. I put it up. I put
I
an
think that
answer
makes
up.
a lot of sense.
That's the best way to do it.
I think that makes a lot of sense. We can, I mean, it's literally like press a button and it's off for
Yeah.
all of them. So we can definitely do that.
Could
I
we
like
just
the
have it-
addition of the frequently asked questions too.
I do too. I think as the project managers start
People
getting
find that
them, then that
helpful.
makes a lot of sense to put that in there. It's not always something people read the whole description through for, so something quick like that would be nice.
When
It's-
somebody's
it's
looking at
amazing,
something
though.
like Paradise Park, they have a question or comment, and they would go ahead to the comment section. And the only thing I would think is that at the end of the day, week, or whatever, we'll say that goes to Public Works. So all the comments on any Public Works items would go to Jake. Any things on recreation go to Todd, et cetera. And then the council would get a list of all the comments and questions once a month, so we know what people were interested in. So because basically, that's what we're here for, to represent the people. And when we see comments like that, it makes it easier for them to do it. And the easier you make it for them to do it, the more likely they will do it, and more responsive we can be.
That's a fair
Anything
point.
difficult in doing that?
Well, as long as it's going directly to the directors or to whomever's
That's what I'm
managing it
saying,
and
you know,
not just being
if it comes
posted
in,
out
like
there.
I say,
Fine,
comes
it's
in
a
a
question.
box or
But
something.
they don't email anyway. I mean, frankly, most
But
people.
the thing is, when somebody is going ahead at that point in time, when it comes to their mind, hey, I'm Paradise Park, I wonder, are they going to have bocce courts there? Who knows what? So they have a question, or what are the comments? When's it going to be done? Things like this. So, and then it would go to Jake.
Sure, okay.
That's all I'm saying, and then we could respond more responsive. But I would like to congratulate Ben and you for this whole system. I think it's fantastic.
This is unbelievable.
Thank you.
This would be really good.
Well done.
Yeah, we'll do all our presentations
done.
like this, and we'll go through the projects like we did the PowerPoints, but I'll just be clicking on the projects
Good.
that we want to talk about, and it'll all be updated. You can look at it anytime you want. It won't be when you get a PowerPoint.
Well, this is really good because
It's
Ben is
amazing.
never responsive. So now we have this, okay?
Okay.
He's joking. He's joking. That's on the record.
You know,
You gotta be careful saying
He knows
sarcasm
I'm
like that.
Thank you, Colleen. All right, next item is mayor and council members' noise ordinance.
That's me.
The irony.
About 6 months ago, complaint from many, many people. We came up here, we discussed it, and we're supposed to get back to us with a plan, review, et cetera, and nothing ever happened.
Come back to him next meeting.
Anyway, so I went through the ordinance again, for the nth time. I plugged in some different hours to make it more livable for people who live near noisy people. And I wanted people's comments on it. And if they like it, don't like it, then if you do like it, then maybe we can make a change in the ordinance. And that's where I'm coming from. That's why I distributed it to everybody. You all had a chance to look at it, I assume.
Have not.
Because you'd never do anything.
Of course
Anyway, you're almost done. So
I appreciate your going, it needs to move, and you've
I
taken a
said
step in
before in
moving it.
April, and nothing got done. That's why I'm
bring it
coming
back
back
next
again.
Bring it back and let's look at it.
He just doesn't want to be here, I understand.
Why don't we get it on the agenda?
Right,
as
you can't
as
do
an-
anything
I put it on
tonight.
the agenda.
No,
as an ordinance.
As an ordinance.
Bring it as an
Put it on
ordinance back.
Can you do that? Take his suggestion, bring it as an
Yeah.
ordinance.
There's some of it I disagree with, but bring it back so we have something to
Yeah,
discuss.
some of it I disagree with too, but I'd be happy to have the conversation.
That's your starting
and try
point.
All
to
right, so bring it
improve
back as an ordinance.
As an ordinance on
What did I tell
in
you?
November.
Brett, you and
All right.
Alice
I'll
and
tell you
me.
what, I'll spend 3 minutes up here talking about how back in my day, we would have gotten this noise ordinance passed in 2 meetings.
And your day.
This is your day.
Come on. All right, so are we good? Noise ordinance, you guys are bringing it back next meeting?
Good.
Beautiful. All right. So I've got 2 items that unfortunately we can't do because, and I actually brought them, well, one is a motion to approve. So I,
You know I'm going to vote against this, so why bother? I'm against all
Brett
donations.
said that.
I won the bet. I won the bet. I said he would have lost anyways because Ed won't vote for
So
that.
anyway,
So-
the reason, Anna Hockemer, who's a council member down in Pinecrest, called me. 200 Club provides services to fallen first responders. And they, because of COVID, actually, they've seen a shortfall in the monies that they need for their projects. So she's asking all municipalities to donate $1,000 for the 200 Club. We can't vote on it anyway because Segarola's not here, but I would ask that the next council consider it and move forward. I think it's a worthwhile program.
I make a motion, Mayor.
Well, I already made it a motion.
A motion of intent and policy to be passed on to the new council.
I appreciate it, but there's not, I don't think you and I have no standing, I believe, to push anything.
So
to
we'll
make
make sure that it
But I would
comes back.
appreciate you guys. It's a worthwhile group. I know Ed's feelings.
Ed, you're
but
gonna bring
I
it
hope
up?
he
I'll
changes
go
his mind.
against it, I'll give him the 1,000.
Okay, fair enough. That, you know what? I'll take that.
What did he say?
He said
Ed
he
will
would give
give
the
them the
1,000.
money.
Okay. So Ed, you bring it up on the next agenda.
Perfect.
No,
So
I'm
he
against it.
doesn't believe the village should. but
Oh,
he
you'll
will
do it personally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next one that I wanted to talk about, we've got first responders in response to Hurricane Ian. Some of our folks have gone over and are using time to be over there to perform services to help out with what's going on the west coast of Florida. I believe that it is critical, and unfortunately, this is also donative, so I know I don't have the votes here at this time. But I would propose that this council provide 1,000 hours to bank for hurricane relief efforts for our firefighters who are doing this work, and I suppose our police as well. I think, Chief, we have police over there as well. So I would like to do 1,000 hours to bank for the hurricane release effort. That comes out to about $50,000. But I understand your position on donative, but the fact is, these people are going over and servicing communities that are in dire need right now. And frankly, we are community members. They're our fellow community members in the state of Florida, and I believe we have an obligation. When you're in your community, you look out for one another. And I think one of the ways we can do so is to have our people go over there and help, because they really need it at this point. So I was going to ask that we do this. I can't because we have one person's out and we need a 7-0 vote under the charter. So again, I would ask that you guys on the next council, you bring this up. I'm happy to talk more. I'll be outside of Sunshine in about 35 minutes.
I don't think so. You're not out of the sunshine until they do
until there's something. I know. Okay, you're right. So after the election, we can start talking again, right?
I don't even know if the election is probably when they do the.
It has to be certified. What?
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll
my
see you
point
in a
is,
few months.
next meeting, I would really like to see you guys take this on. I think this is important. Our people are volunteering their time, and I think we as a community.
That's why I made the motion to a non-binding, what we call the sense of the council resolution.
Is there fair enough? Is there a sense of the council
Yes.
to have this considered at the next meeting?
Yes.
Thank you. That's what I'm asking for.
Yes.
I appreciate
I'll have
that.
to make it formal in the resolution,
Okay. And then my next item, I had a lot of items because my last meeting, but this one is, So look, there's a lot of concerns. We heard from Mario. We've got some of our vision board people here. We've got one of them left anyway. Thank you for staying. But some of the concerns are about which items on, I think is it 3 or 4? I was getting mixed up, but which referendum 3 or referendum 4 is about the zoning can go either to referendum of the people or can be approved by a supermajority of the council. And one of the issues that has come up is people are concerned that major issues could be decided by the supermajority. And I would ask that the next council enact an ordinance that lists, specifies which zoning change types must go to the electorate, must go out to referendum. Things like if we wanted to change the zoning of, let's say, Fernwood to commercial, that must go to referendum. Yeah, that's an exaggeration, but that sort of thing. I would like to see you all at the next meeting after the election, when nobody's politicking anymore. We can have something that makes the community feel a little better about what I believe in those charter items, but I would like to see that brought before you at the next council.
Is the notion some concern because of the charter amendments that were?
I think there's talk out there, right, that they're saying, oh, they just want to overdevelop the key. That's nonsense. But I do understand people want to understand what exactly comes to us and what goes to referendum and what does not, what would stay with the council. And I think it's incumbent upon the next council to be more descriptive. You can't do that in a charter referendum because you get, 170 words?
That's right.
Total? So you can't, people are like, why didn't we spell that out? Well, we can't spell that out in a charter referendum, but in a charter question. But we can do that in an ordinance. So I'd ask that the next, again, the spirit of the council, I'd like to see you guys come back if that's the spirit of the council.
Same thing.
Come back and review that.
We'll do that.
Okay. And then finally, final thoughts. I want to thank you all. It's been an interesting 4 years.
Can we finally get rid of these that you're leaving?
Take
these plastic things out?
The hockey, it's the glass. I kind of like. Actually, the rain should leave and get rid of them now. But it's been an incredible experience being mayor of this village. I think it's. I'll remember it always. I didn't think I was going to cry. But no, it's been great. I really appreciate everybody here. I'm Irish. We cry, we drink, we fight. But it really has been incredible. I do appreciate all of you. I know how much time. Yeah, you too, actually. But I appreciate all the efforts. This community is great because of the time people commit to this community. And let's keep it going. We need to. I was going to give Councilmember Laredo, you're there. I know you want to give your final thoughts. You've been here for 4, so take it away from me. But thank you. Thank you all for what you do. Thank you to staff. You guys are awesome. I really do appreciate everything. I know how hard we are. I know how challenging we can be to work with. So thank you for everything you do to keep this village the amazing place it is.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being with you all for 4 years. Not always agreed, but as Winston Churchill says, democracy is the worst system of government until you think of the alternative. And so we did it with the right heart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I think we have one more thing. The clerk.
The next council.
The clerk needs to certify the primary vote. Is she there? Okay, she can do that again some other time.
You want maybe a quick reflection?
Absolutely, yeah, no, I welcome it.
I think transition.
Can I ask you a question before the captain from the attorney? The village clerk, since you're acting as village clerk, why is this item here? Is it something we need to do before the election?
So this is something that
Oh, hold on, Jocelyn's there.
Here.
Yeah, I just don't want to miss something legally here.
I believe that the code requires that the clerk provide the certification to the council, but I'll let the clerk respond.
It's just for your information.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Kaplan.
I'll be quick. Transitions are a good time for self-reflection. I think the administration has never been stronger across the board. That's a really good thing. In the last 2 years that I've been working, I found there's a different level of support that makes our job easier, in my opinion, in my experience, and I appreciate that. The mayor's job, I know, is easier, and meetings go better, and decision-making is improved if council members take responsibility themselves to support good order, practice self-discipline, practice concision, be well prepared, follow the flow of the discussions, contribute to good order in all of the ways that we know how to do. So it seems to me good to springboard off of this term and just keep getting better.
Agreed. And good luck to you all out there running for office. Keep at it. My condolences on having to serve with some of these people. I'm not going to point any fingers, but, you know. And again, you know, this community is, I can't think of a better place on earth. I don't know if another place that I'd want to live, frankly. And to all the people out there, you know, just because the elections are over in 28 days, don't stop being involved. You have to be involved. This is your government. It's your obligation to stay informed and to participate, because that's what's going to keep us strong and that's what's going to keep us going forward. So
move to adjourn.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.